Honorable members, shall we pray? Almighty God, we humbly beseech Thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in Thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and that good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, we apologize for the delay in commencing proceedings of today's sitting. I was informed that some committees were going through the referrals, and I should wait until they complete before we commence proceedings. And so I was rather committed to doing some other things. I've just been informed that the committees are finished, they are ready, and we are now here to commence the proceedings. Again, I did indicate that I'll be submitting a statement this morning for your comments on the President's refusal to assent to some bills we sent to him. In view of today's development, I decided to do that tomorrow morning. And so I'll be communicating to you, and I'll be expecting that you make comments that will allow this House to take a very serious position on this development. So with this, we move on to item 4, which is correction of rules and proceedings and official report. We'll start with the correction of rules and proceedings of Wednesday, 20th December 2023. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 26th sitting, dated Wednesday, 20th December 2023, are adopted as a true record of proceedings. I have copies of some official reports, one dated Monday, 4th December 2023, and the other Tuesday, 5th December 2023. We'll start with the one dated Monday, 4th December 2023. Honorable members, if you want to whisper, whisper. Please. Communicating on the floor to your colleague is whispering, not talking loudly like you are doing, because you are interrupting proceedings of the House. Monday, 4th December 2023. Honorable members, any corrections? In the absence of any corrections, the official reports of Monday, 4th December 2023 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. We now look at the one dated Tuesday, 5th December 2023. Any corrections? Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the official report of Tuesday, 5th December 2023 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Yes, do we take questions? Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Yes, Speaker, we'll take questions. Speaker, may I seek your leave for us to fleetingly vary order of business and rather lay some papers, after which we'll revert to questions.
Honorable members, at the commencement of public business, item 7, presentation of papers. The following papers to be presented. 7A, by the chairman of the committee.
Reports of the Committee on Judiciary on the annual budget estimates of the Judiciary and the Judicial Service for the year ending 31st December 2024.
Honorable members, the report of the committee is accordingly presented to the House and is for distribution to all members of the House. 7B by the chairman of the committee. Yes, please.
Speaker, the committee is chaired by the majority leader. If I may seek your leave to do it for him.
Yes.
Report of the Special Budget Committee on the annual budget estimates of the Parliament and the Parliamentary Service for the year ending 31st December 2024.
Honorable members, the said report is accordingly presented to the House and is for distribution to all members of the House. 7C, that is Chairman of the Finance Committee. Please present all from Roman 1 to.
So that you may indulge me, it's you're taking C Roman 1 to Roman VII, excluding the 3 beneath it. So it's Roman 1 all the way to VII.
Yes. So you present all from Roman 1 at page 5 to Roman XII at page 6. Table office.
Report of the Finance Committee on the Customs Amendment Bill 2023. Report of the Finance Committee on the Value Added Tax Amendment Bill 2023. Report of the Finance Committee on the Excise Duty Amendment Bill 2023. Report of the Finance Committee on the Excise Stamp Amendment Bill 2023. Report of the Finance Committee on the Exemptions Amendment Bill 2023. Report of the Finance Committee on the Income Tax Amendment Number 2 Bill 2023. Report of the Finance Committee on the Emissions Levy Bill 2023. Report of the Finance Committee on the Budget Bill 2023. Report of the Finance Committee on the Ghana Investment Promotion Center Amendment Bill 2023. Report of the Finance Committee on the request for waiver of import duty, import NHIL, import get fund levy, import VAT, EXIM levy, and special import levy, amounting to the Ghana cedi equivalent of $802,662 United States dollars of materials and equipment required to be imported for the construction of the Ghana Armed Forces Training Infrastructure and China Military Aid Gratis Project.
They went all the way to VII. Is it an NCA? No, okay. That's what he told me. But they added. They should not be that added.
So it ends here.
Yeah, it's not there. But they added all the.
Please, you are left with the one at page 6, XI.
Report of the Finance Committee on the additional financing. Report of the Finance Committee on the loan agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, and Creditanstalt Fair Federal Bar, Frankfurt am Main, for an amount of €11,500,000 to finance the Financial Cooperation Governance Program, audit service construction of 12 regional and district offices.
Honorable members, I am informed that 3 of the reports are not ready. That is at page 6, IX, X, and XII are not ready. So what we've laid is 7C, Roman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and Roman 13. That's what we've laid now. Honorable members. Yes,
Speaker, pardon me, I think we need to correct it properly. So we are rather taking 7C, Roman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we continue to page 6 and take Roman XI.
Honorable members, I direct that we withdraw the name of Roman 7C VIII XIX that be withdrawn. And so what we've laid is 7C Roman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and Roman 13, Roman 11, that is XI at page 6. Honorable members, these reports by the Finance Committee are accordingly presented to the House and they are for distribution to all members of Parliament. Yes, please.
Speaker, we can now take 7H. 7H on page 9.
Honorable members, item 7H by the Chairman of the Committee.
Report of the Committee on Roads and Transport on the dissemination of the agency of the National Road Authority Bill 2023.
Give it to his leaders to recommend it. Go and give it to them. Honorable members, the report of the Committee on Roads and Transport is presented accordingly and is for distribution to all members of Parliament. Yes, please.
Speaker, we are now ready to go and take item 5.
Honorable members, we go back to members' business, which is part of private business. Item 5. Questions. Honorable members, my attention has just been drawn that the responses to the questions are not available now. They are on the way coming. They were just submitted this morning. And so we will have to move to another item. May we take statements? Statements. The Honorable Haruna Idrisu submitted a statement yesterday as a tribute to our late former colleague, Honorable E.T. Mensah. I think this is the time to give him opportunity to read through that statement. Yes, Honorable Haruna Idrisu.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity, but with a heavy heart, pay tribute to a dedicated and loyal public servant, the late E.T. Mensah Enoch Mensah, Minister, Whip, Party activist, Councillor as member of the Council of State, and Mayor of Accra. And Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, may I refer to Romans 14 verse 8. If we live for the Lord, and if we die for the Lord. Therefore, whether we live or die, we belong to God. Mr. Speaker, the late E.T. Mensah is gone with his somber tone and voice, echoing the gravity of issues at hand. His eloquence and thoughtful articulation in this chamber is to be remembered. The late E.T. Mensah was born on 17th May 1946 in Koforidua, but hails from Prampram in the Greater Accra region. He completed an accountancy course at Snobs College in Accra in 1968 and obtained a certificate from the Royal Society of Arts Patri in 1970. He held Master of Arts degree in Theological Studies from Vision International University, Romana, California. He was a fellow with the Institute for Financial Accountants, FFA, and also the Institute of Administrative Accountants, FIAA. Additionally, he was a member of the National Association of Public Accountants, NAPA, USA, and member of the Institute of Public Accountants, FIBA, Australia. He had a stint with the University of Ghana, Legon, as an accounting officer upon completion of his course of study at the NAPS College. Mr. Speaker, the late E.T. Mensah caught the attention of then chairman of the PNDC, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, in 1982 and was appointed mayor of Accra. He served in the role for 10 years until 1992 when he was appointed Deputy PNDC Secretary for Youth and Sports. Mr. Speaker, he tirelessly worked to change and develop Accra with a much passion. Mr. Speaker, the late E.T. Mensah was a founding member of our party, the National Democratic Congress, in 1992 and held several positions within the party, including being its National Youth Organizer and National Vice Chair. Mr. Speaker, I took over from the late E.T. Mensah as National Youth Organizer of the NDC after the 2000 elections. He was also very instrumental, Mr. Speaker, in the formation of the Tertiary Education Institutions Network, TEIN. And Mr. Speaker, I know you personally took interest in the evolution and development of the TEINs across all our tertiary institutions in Ghana. I still recall you accompanying President Mills, as he then was, at the time candidate Mills, going to the University of Cape Coast and Legon to develop this as the intellectual wing of the NDC as a political party. During his tenure as Minister for Youth and Sports from 1993 to 2001, Mr. Speaker, Honorable E.T. Mensah saw the progressive development of the various sporting disciplines in Ghana. The Football League was transformed into a professional league with clubs made to register as corporate entities. The administration and management of football has since changed for good in Ghana, thanks to the Honorable E.T. Mensah. He achieved a lot in the sports sector and was very instrumental in the development of the country's youth national teams, whether you call it under 23 or under 20 years. And therefore, the Ghanaian sports community will miss Enoch Mensah, particularly with the establishment of the Youth Leadership Center in Africa for the training and development of skills of our young people as part of the training for employability. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable E.T. Mensah entered Parliament on the ticket of the NDC in January 1997 as Member of Parliament for Lingo Prampram. He held the seat for 5 consecutive terms until he exited January 2017. Mr. Speaker, whilst in Parliament, the late E.T. Mensah served on a number of committees, including the Public Accounts Committee, House Committee, Finance Committee, Committee on Mines and Energy, and Committee on Trade and Industry and Tourism. Mr. Speaker, he was part of the leadership of Parliament, both in the minority and in the majority of the NDC. He was a deputy minority whip from January 2001 to January 2005, minority whip from January 2005 to January 2009, and majority chief whip. The late E.T. Mensah represented this Parliament, Mr. Speaker, as member of the Pan-African Parliament. He resigned his membership of the Pan-African Parliament following his appointment as Minister of State. Mr. Speaker, Honorable E.T. Mensah held a number of portfolios in government and was the first Minister of Youth and Sports under the Fourth Republic. He also served as Minister for Employment and Social Welfare, Minister for Education, and Minister for Works and Housing. As Minister responsible for water resources, he called for the need to harness our water bodies to attain food security in Ghana. The Speaker, reference will be made to the 21st March 2012 Hansard, column 3031, where he said, and with your indulgence, I quote, Madam Speaker, Ghana has an agrarian-based economy which relies heavily on rain-fed agriculture. Hence, we have no option than to raise the profit of water for food security to the highest level and to take action at all stages of the supply chain, from the producers to consumers, to save water and ensure food for all. Mr. Speaker, reference may also be made to what the Honorable E.T. Mensah remarked on 18 November 2009 in the Hansard, column 854, during the consideration of the reports of the Appointments Committee on Ministerial Nominees. Honorable E.T. Mensah is quoted to have said, "There is no captain of a team without a team. It is said that any leader without a team of followers is only a walk," unquote. Mr. Speaker, on 1st June 2007, Hansard, column 557, the late E.T. Mensah, in contributing on this floor, said, and I quote, "So for me, I never liked the privatization of tolling. When it is given to the district assemblies, it will be a very important source of internally generated funds." Mr. Speaker, when he was in leadership in Parliament, he sought for consensus building and always reached out to the other side to facilitate the work of the House. Commenting on the business of the House on 13 November 2009, Hansard 726, column 726, he said, "The other time, when the shoe was on the other leg, we were making the same noise. Now it has come to a time when we need to look at these things in a bipartisan basis. So we take their concerns into consideration." Mr. Speaker, an enduring legacy of his leadership should be as working towards consensus building in this Parliament. After exiting Parliament in 2007, Mr. Speaker, Honorable E.T. Mensah remained active within the political space, albeit not an elected position. He bounced back and was elected member of the Council of State representing the Greater Accra region, the position he served until his demise 1st October 2023. Mr. Speaker, Honorable E.T. Mensah served the people of Nego Pram and the entire country to the best of his ability. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, he was a very dedicated, loyal public servant, particularly to President Jerry John Rawlings. He was one of his loyal servants at the time. He was honored by President Kufuor and he received the Companion of the Order of Volta. The Speaker, the person we mourn today is Enoch T. Mensah, party activist, mayor, MP, councillor of our republic. Our condolences to the brave family and to the NDC for losing a stalwart of the party at the grassroots who is responsible for the functional, effective youth wing of the NDC. Mr. Speaker, to the wife and children, we say, find solace that he is resting in the bosom of the Lord. Mr. Speaker, condolences to the E.T. family, to the NDC, and to the country at large. May his soul rest in perfect peace. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, we take contributions. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Honourable Member, Honourable Haruna Idrisu, for this honourable tribute to our late father, our late uncle, our late brother, Honourable Enoch Mensah. Mr. Speaker, Honourable E.T. Mensah is or was the longest serving Minister for Youth and Sports that we cannot erase from the history of this country. Mr. Speaker, he was a Member of Parliament from the year 1997, and he represented the good people of Ningo Prampram until he exited Parliament. Mr. Speaker, he also served in his capacity as the Minister for Education. He has also served this country in the capacity as Minister for Youth and Employment, Minister for Employment and Social Welfare. Mr. Speaker, this tells you that our late father, our late uncle, has served in various capacities in his government when they were given an opportunity to be in power. And he served to the best of his ability, Mr. Speaker. His life is worthy of emulation for us young ones who are still in politics, Mr. Speaker. His unwavering dedication, patriotism, and commitment to the affairs of this country cannot be doubted in any way, Mr. Speaker. It is sad that death had to take him away from us, and the Akan saying, which goes like, Owo Kradia Nkwa Intumenji, meaning when death is actually taking something away, or a human being away, life cannot struggle with death. It is with a heavy heart that I contribute to this statement, to the families, to the 7 children that he left behind. My heart deeply pours out to them. Mr. Speaker, I am particularly touched and moved by how he started from a humble beginning professionally as an accountant at the University of Ghana, and patiently rose from that position, held the position of the National Youth Organizer, the first National Youth Organizer of the National Democratic Congress, then to Member of Parliament, then to Minister, then to Council of State. Mr. Speaker, this is a great lesson to us, the young ones, that no matter where you are, with patience and with hard work, with dedication, you can rise wherever you want to rise to. I'm sure when he was an accountant or account officer at the University of Ghana, nobody thought that he could actually rise to that level. And so, Mr. Speaker, he's a test case for all youth in this country. Wherever you are, be there, work hard, learn hard, push harder, and God will be your light, and it will shine ahead of you as you rise. Mr. Speaker, I'm not saying he's a distinguished and veteran politician. Some of us were young when we heard his name and watched him on television do all he had to do in his ability or in his capacity that he served this country. Mr. Speaker, I want to end my statement by saying that as Council of State member, he has also advised the President in many, as part of the whole Council, not individually, has advised the President in many matters that has helped even when his party wasn't in power. This is a statesman. This is a stalwart. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say, to the family, to the wife, and to the children, to the National Democratic Congress, to the whole of Ghana, to the Parliament of Ghana. I thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Emmanuel Bejira.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support the statement to commiserate with the late leader of this House, made by Honorable Haruna Idrisu, MP for Tamale South. Right Honorable Speaker, in 2009, as young as we were, we met the Right Honorable Member of Parliament for Lingo Pampram, and one of the things that he told us was the fact that if you are able to become a Member of Parliament for the third and fourth time, you should be called a Right Honorable Member, and that in the UK or Commonwealth, if you're able to meet your third term and the fourth term, your title moves from Member of Parliament or Honorable Member to Right Honorable Member. Mr. Speaker, the deeds of good men shall be written on tablets of gold, said by the wise man. E.T. Mensah, as we affectionately call him, was a leader when we came to this House in 2009. We've learned that he was a mayor of Great Accra or the Accra Metropolitan Authority before becoming a Member of Parliament, which means that our late and revered brother was not only a Member of Parliament, but he started as a mayor or started from the local government system. And when he came to the legislature, Mr. Speaker, he has distinguished himself creditably. Moving from there, he also joined the executive as a Minister of State as well as a member of the Council of State before his demise. Mr. Speaker, in 2010, when we came as backbenchers, we were sitting right at your right side, at the back there, the last seat at the back there. Myself, the Honorable Peju Edu Asare, then MP for Adenta, Honorable Aquinas Kwansa, then MP for Infantiman, and then Honorable Kobi Williame. We were sitting right there and we were talking among ourselves. Being a chief whip, he came and he said, "Young men, what were you talking about? What are you discussing?" And then I said, "Honorable whip, we've been here for a year now and nothing seems to be working. We came to this house and all we hear is yeah, and then we close and we go home. We want to work." Then he laughed. He said, "Young men, you don't understand the work of this house. You should learn the rudiment of this house and the processes of this house." Then he said something, and I will never forget that, Mr. Speaker. He said, "Young man," he turned to me and he said, "Are you the leader of the group?" And I said, "Yes, I'm the leader." Then he said, "Do you want to come back to this house again?" I said, "Why not?" Then he said, "Why are you complaining? This house is like taking a drug. The first time you experience taking drug, you will not like it at all. And so when you come here, you will not like the things that goes on because of your experience, either in your professional life or whatever. And so when you come, things will change. And so you grumble, you say all kinds of things that you don't want to come back again. Then your friends will convince you to try it again. And when you taste it the second time, the drug the second time, you will say, oh, I'm feeling high. And then you want to enjoy it more. But then people will be chasing your constituency. And so I want to come back to their house again, so I will taste it again. So you take it the third time, the fourth time, and the fifth time. So coming to this house, all we needed to do was for us to learn and get ourselves ready for the house. With that, you'll be able to succeed. Don't grumble, watch your peers, watch your seniors, and then see how you will get there. Mr. Speaker, that has worked us, especially the four of us at the back there, and we have decided that we are going to work hard, study hard, and also listen to our seniors. Mr. Speaker, at the time that Honorable the late E.T. Mensah was the chief whip, the house was enjoyable. Those of us who met him in 2009, when we closed, he calls us in his office, and whatever needs to be done, if it's too well, we get it. But now, the new chief whip, we don't get those things from them again. But Honorable E.T. Mensah will make sure that you go to the weekend, satisfied. But then, Mr. Speaker, you were the majority leader, and things were very, things were good in this house. We were really enjoying. Honorable minority leader was my mate. Honorable deputy minority leader also knows what I'm talking about. When we close, E.T. Mensah will call us to his room there, and then we enjoy ourselves. When we are going, at least you can get fuel. Now we don't even have the fuel from the beefs. The beefs will learn from Honorable E.T. Mensah. At the end of the day, when we are going home, we need fuel in our cars. Mr. Speaker, this E.T. Mensah was a great man. He's able to blend the days that when we have issues, he will speak to us, he will sit down. One day I remember, Mr. Speaker, on this floor when STS deal was brought to the house, and I was against it because as a professional, I was against it. Honorable E.T. Mensah called me to his office and said, I heard you are the only person who is speaking against it. Now, as a whip, I've been instructed to make sure that you vote for it. And what he did was that he said, you'll be the last person to speak for, and everybody will be watching you. And he did exactly that. This is the man who will convince you and let you understand why certain things are done in this house. We have missed him. Mr. Speaker, we can only ask that the good Lord will have mercy on him and give him good rest. On that note, I wish the family, the NDC family, and all of us to commiserate with them and also pray that we'll go and see him off and give him a befitting burial. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I know my honorable former leader has not mentioned it, but it will also be nice if one of the properties in this place will be named after E.T. Mensah. If we have named Justice D.F. Anand's auditorium, we can name other properties after the name of E.T. Mensah. I said this because when E.T. Mensah was a minister of West and Housing, that was when we started Job 600 renovation. Mr. Speaker, and then he continued from where you left it. And so a property or something can be named after E.T. Mensah. If it's in a street, E.T. Mensah Street in Parliament, that will suffice. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Well, yes, is that the minister?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to add my voice to the statement ably made by my former minister at the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations and also a colleague at this House. The Speaker, we are celebrating a man who was so hardworking and so humble. I got to know Mr. E.T. Mensah in January 2009 when I became a member of this House. I must confess that even though I was not a member of his side of the House, but he could easily reach out to me. And I must say that he is one of the people who mentored me. He once told me that, my brother, in this house, if you are young, what you need to do is to learn. You should not be the first to speak. Listen to other people get to know how the debate is going before you speak. And once he told me that given the way I've observed you and the way you conduct yourself, I will not be surprised if one day you will rise to be one of the leaders of this house. So indeed, when I was made a deputy whip, he told me that what I prophesied about you has come to pass. Mr. Speaker, not too long after I had met him here, he was made a minister for Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. To date, if you go to the ministry, he is remembered for some of the significant things he did, especially in the areas of child labor eradication. He established what we call NEPLEC and actually saw to the implementation of so many things in helping to eradicate issues of child labor. He actually also led the government side to negotiate with the U.S. Department of Labor on issues of child labor, especially when the U.S. Senate had threatened to boycott cocoa from Ghana because they suspect children were involved in the development of cocoa in Ghana. He is also credited for embarking on expansionary activities, especially in the physical infrastructure of the ministry. So anytime I enter the ministry through the reception app, there's no way you can get to your office without actually passing through the legacy of Mr. Yichi Mensah. So today, if he is being celebrated by this house, I want to add my voice to it. And personally, I want to thank God for giving me such a great mentor who will not look at the side of the house that you are coming from and still will give you all the assistance that you require. The last time I saw him was not too long ago. I descended from my office at the ministry only to meet a car in front of my ministry. So I tried to find out who was in the car. When I popped, I saw Mr. Yichi Mensah. Then I asked him, Honorable, why will you be in a car standing at the frontage of the building instead of coming in? He said he was writing his memoir, he needed some information, and he thought there was no need to disturb me. So he just asked the people who could give him the information to do so. Such is the man that we are celebrating. I don't know whether he was able to complete his memoir or not, but I still remember that engagement that I had with him. So today, I want to add my voice to my colleague in wishing him well in the second world where he finds himself. Knowing very well how religious he was, I know that he will be resting in the bosom of the Lord. My condolence to the bereaved family, and I pray, as it's often said in Akan, that Uncle Husha baby, and one day we'll all meet him. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, you've been standing for a long time. Honorable Kofi Adams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to say a few words on the occasion of this House paying its tribute to the former member, Honorable E.T. Mensah. Mr. Speaker, a lot have been said about him in relation to Parliament. I would want to add a bit of what we know him from outside. Mr. Speaker, Honorable E.T. Mensah was one person that you meet him for the first time and you fall in love with him. Despite, Mr. Speaker, his very humble beginning, level of education, one thing that interested E.T. Mensah the most was books. Mr. Speaker, he loved books so much that give E.T. Mensah a small space, and the first thing he would think about is creating a library. He would want to collect as many books as possible related to fields he is working in and any other field of interest to him. Mr. Speaker, he remains on record as the longest serving national youth organizer of the National Democratic Congress from 1992 to 2002, where Honorable Haruna Idrisu took over from him. As National Youth Organizer and Minister for Youth and Sports, he saw to it, Mr. Speaker, for the need for his political party and the youth wing for that matter to have an intellectual wing. So long before other political parties thought of creating the intellectual wings of their party, Honorable E.T. Mensah, as early as 1994, has thought of and saw to the establishment of what we call TEI, the Tertiary Educational Institutions Network of NDC. I remember foundation members like late Sly Akakovi, even Madame Frances Cecile, Honorable Inus Afuseni, and all others, when we converged in Winneba to see to the inauguration of the students' wing of the National Democratic Congress. He knew that, Mr. Speaker, we needed to train the young ones in the various fields to be able to serve the party in future. He regularly saw to collection of information and publishing material such that if as a party member you needed to speak, you were speaking to issues that are verifiable. The publication of Lest We Forget and many others that served the good of the party come in mention. Mr. Speaker, he not only served as the national youth organizer, but he went further to become a vice chairman of the party for 2 terms. In the very difficult period of this party, when we went into opposition, his presence on the National Executive Board served as a moderating factor everywhere he found himself. Even when we went out to contest for by-elections, you will find Honorable E.T. Mensah reaching out to the other side. As strong a politically opinionated person that he was, he found time to also engage the opponents, where he needed to educate them, to get them to understand issues of importance. He did so. He didn't mind whether you were in his party or not in the party. He didn't mind whether you have previously insulted him or not. He will find a way of engaging you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a lot of things was said about him, but like E.T. as he was, he found a way to explain himself. I don't remember him trying to take anyone to court or on the street to answer for certain things that were said about him. Mr. Speaker, at the time he served as the mayor of Accra, that was when over 22 constituencies as they exist today were under the AMA, and so it was a huge responsibility for him. Those were the days, Mr. Speaker, where refuse dams that he had to clear when he became a mayor was as high as a mountain. He did all these jobs so well, moved on and served subsequently also as Employment and Labor Relations Minister, and served as Works and Housing Minister. Mr. Speaker, in the NDC again, he also served as a member of the elders, and he found time to move around the various parts of this country to advise persons. Of course, when he contested the 2015 primaries, and it did not for him, a lot of people thought that he would do things that were untoward. Yes, he remained a member of the party, he served the party till a point where he contested again for the member of what? Council of State, and won, a position he served till his death. E.T. was, as he was affectionately called, was one person, Mr. Speaker, who would love to call you when he hear you make comments on one issue or the other, to add some knowledge to what it is that you have. And he created space for a lot of young persons to be tutored in the party. Mr. Speaker, many of us became active in the party because of the nurturing we got from E.T. Mensah. It is our hope that the leaders who comes after him will continue his practice, as Honorable Haruna did and other youth organizers of our party did, by training the young ones to be able to pick up roles. As we pay tribute to him today, may I join others who have earlier spoken to condole with the family, the wife and the kids, that we've lost him, but we will never forget him. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable, is it Moses Enim?
Mr. Speaker, I'm Moses Enim.
Yes, permanently glued.
Permanently glued at your corner and behind you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Enokte Mensah was a very good man. Mr. Speaker, I got closer to him when I entered Parliament 2013. Mr. Speaker, then we did not have any office. So the coffee shop was the area that we convened. And we learned from our seniors. Mr. Speaker, having realized that Honorable E.T. Mensah was one of the most experienced and senior of the House, I got closer to him. And there are things that he keeps saying constantly every time I get closer to him. Mr. Speaker, and it is that for every democracy, there's something called the political class. And E.T. will school you and let you get the understanding to the point that what we're doing to ourselves here is self-damaging and deteriorating the political class that we should get up to. And he will use a lot of jurisdiction to explain why the need for us to show decorum and respect for each other so we can maintain that political class for ourselves and for the future. Mr. Speaker, I learned a lot from Honorable E.T. Mensah. At any time that we convene I go kneel before him and he will school me throughout. One thing that he told me that helped me was that, young man, in this house, use your salary to prepare your budget alone. Don't put your mind on any other thing. Any other thing that will come should be something that you might not anticipated. But if you anticipate more ahead of you and you put a budget to the anticipation, you fall into the pit. Mr. Speaker, quickly I was able to learn that in this house it is service, it is sacrificial, and like somebody said, the forest is one entity when you look at it from afar, but when you get closer, each tree stands alone, and that the picture is different when you look at it from afar than when you come closer. So quickly I was able to learn and adjust myself, because the perception that you have out there before you come to Parliament, Mr. Speaker, is very different. And Honorable E.T. Mensah really helped me in understanding the real situation so I could adjust myself and fit in. Mr. Speaker, when I became the Deputy Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, he called me. Honorable E.T. Mensah was the one who gave me the history and the historical antecedents about the Ghana National Fishermen Canoe Council and how they came into being, their operations, and how I should be handling and dealing with them. Mr. Speaker, today I can assure you that based on that experience and learning Mensah gave me, I've been able to be very closer to the chief fishermen. I understand and appreciate their situation, and I'm so grateful. In fact, his help for me and his support for me did not remain in this house alone, but whilst he was outside this house, the tutorial that he gave me in the ministry has also helped me. Mr. Speaker, I wish to say that may his gentle soul rest in perfect peace, and I believe that we should learn a lot from his character, his beliefs, his principles, and the stance that he took. I believe that those who are seniors here must learn and mentor and paint the picture, the rare picture, to colleagues and fresh ones who are coming, so that we will be very stabilized and be stable in this house and understand the rare situation of the house. We are behind the family, and I know we will support the family. It's not their fight alone. His death is not for them alone. It's for all of us, and it's for the country that has lost. We believe that the necessary arrangement will be made for him to have a very befitting burial to honor the effort and the work that he has done. I thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Wayomi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for adding my tribute, eulogizing a great man. A great man because I'm going to recount a little bit about a personal experience I've had with him. I'll call him a father. Probably he may consider me a protege. I knew Honorable E.T. Mensah as far back in 1992. In fact, I was just a small boy who had just finished A-level at Presec, Lagos. And I also Tracy, for that matter. And E.T. had held a lot of positions as mayor, and also became a stalwart and a founding member of the great party, the NDPC. And through some relationships with some friends, I got closer to him. And my stepfather at the time also took me to him. E.T. found something unique in me and decided to involve me in what at the time we called the Youth Working Committee. And this Youth Working Committee most of the time had meetings at Winneba Sports College. And so virtually every weekend we were sent to Winneba Sports College to go and especially put together rejoinders to many write-ups against the government at the time. Myself, the likes of Ludwig Longe, and key other personalities including Frances Asiam were all parts of the team. E.T. would always assemble to go through some write-ups for rejoinders to be written. And even at that, he will always school us. He will always tell us what we need to know by way of history, where the country was coming from and where we are getting to, and sometimes the future. By the grace of God, when I got to the University of Ghana, Lagos, that was where a lot of things, in fact, my own former leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, the news president at the time, was one key person that said I come over for with key messages and discussions and all that needed to be part of some of the school decisions and all that. Mr. Speaker, Honorable E.T. Mensah's youth activism spread so fast and will always want to see us succeed in everything that we did. He motivated me, especially on University of Ghana Legon campus, when I'm sure what Kofi Adams, my honorable colleague, mentioned, the formation of TAIN on campus. We're all part of it. And so eventually I became the vice president of TAIN, and Francis Echem was the president and I was her vice president. And all the motivations coming from the Honorable E.T. Mensah, who will always want to know how situations were on campus, and also invited us to his office and to discuss many things that concern youth development and a whole lot. Mr. Speaker, this is a man who has shown so much zeal and some love and care to see the youth, irrespective of where you're coming from, who you are, to develop and become a future leader. And in so doing, he will always school you, as alluded to by many of the contributors earlier. That he will always tell you what you need to know and what you need to guide yourself with, and why you need to visit him for some bits and bits over there in terms of guidance and counseling. And I will say that the foundation in terms of youth activism and development of youth with regards to our party, in fact, this is the key person who has made it and has actually brought us where we are today. As Faith had it, he told me that if I should continue the way I was, involved in party and youth activism and many other things, I will one day become a leader in a way that will represent my people one day. And as I indicated, I never knew I would become a representative of the people of Southtown in the August House as far back in 2009. And immediately I got here, proud to it, his calls, his admonishments, his encouragement, many, I would say, all helped. And of course, the former president, His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings, all together helped and shaped and really got us where we are today. Mr. Speaker, I must say, this is a gem. Even when we got here and he saw us, and as our leader then, as my own colleague and brother Bejra had alluded to, he would not leave us alone. He would always indicate what he would want to be involved in, what we do or undertake here. In fact, we have lost a stalwart, somebody who will not be selfish in any way, who will always be caring, irrespective of whatever somebody has done to tell him. You want to know the other side of the coin. Sometimes you will call and say, hey, what is it that I'm hearing? This is a father who cares that much. This is somebody that I believe, like others have said, even other leaders will also demonstrate and behave as such. How sweet and wonderful it will be for all of us. We are who we are today, and many of us can attest to the fact that it is his involvement and contribution in what we did or whatever we took as decisions has made us who we are today. May his soul rest in perfect peace. We've lost him, and I don't know how. It's a big vacuum. His decisions sometimes we question, but then he always found answers for us anytime we ask him why. Mr. Speaker, may his soul rest in peace, and his immediate family, the wife and children, people of Dingo, Pram and Ghana at large, may they be consoled for the fact that this man has nurtured a lot of people and has left a big mark that will always remember him for. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. May his soul rest in peace. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, before we rise to honor him with a minute's silence, it's important I say a few words. We listen to so many people, and it's like we are repeating the same thing. Well, the statement was very comprehensive. But, well, leaders, if you still want, I can recognize more hands, more people to contribute. Then I'll start with Honorable Neil Van der Poel and come forward.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement in memory of the illustrious Enoch Mensah, former Member of Parliament and former Minister of Youth and Sports, and former Member of the Council of State. Mr. Speaker, if I want to eulogize Mensah, we will not rise. I met him as a young boy, then as a student. I used to follow him to the Accra House of Folk training grounds. Then he was a player of Accra House of Folk with the late Robert Foley, Moses Ochre, Amusak Badamoshi, and the rest. I used to carry his boots. After training, I would clean his boots and put it in the paper bag. Walk with him to the Salaga station for him to board transport to Choco, where then he was staying. That time, his real name was Washe, or Washington. From then, our path crossed again when, in 1986, I got to the University of Ghana, and through the influence of the late Ato Austin, he was pushing me to be a member of Sabah Hall, whilst Mensah also wanted me to be a member of Akwafu Hall. It was a struggle which Ato Austin won. Because of my background in sports, Yiti's intention was to have me in Akwafu Hall, which that time also had some illustrious sportsmen, and he thought that through that we could influence sports in the university. In fact, through Yiti Mensah, I got close to the late President, Professor John Evans Atamils. On campus, then the lead sports commentators were Professor Suman and Mr. Kofi Kumado of the law faculty. But Yiti knew my talent in sports commentary, so anytime the two were busy in the lecture halls, I took over as the commentator of the university during our athletics events. Then quietly, he pushed me closely to Accra House of Folk. Whilst on campus, through Yiti Mensah's influence, I became the General Secretary of Accra House of Folk Supporters Union, NCCE. We were very close. All around that I didn't know Yiti Mensah was married to my auntie Vida. It was during an annual Homowo festival in Pram Pram that I got to know that my mother's first cousin, Auntie Vida, was married to Yiti Mensah, because I had then never gone to his house to have a personal discussion with him. I'm happy formally that I see a lot of bambu that we ate together. Auntie Vida has a habit of cooking for everybody. So Yiti Mensah's house was like a festive home for everybody at any time. Mr. Speaker, he motivated and inspired me a lot, to the extent that at the time I was almost his media consultant when I was still working with GBC as a commentator and also as a sports presenter. We worked closely together. He asked me to become his special assistant when he was Minister for Youth and Sports. I worked with him diligently together. Then in real politics, Mr. Speaker, if I am NDC today, it was because of Yiti Mensah. When we started the Eagle Club, he made me the interim secretary of the Eagle Club in Greater Accra. Together with the late Alaji Waya, we ran the office together with the late Dr. Farouk Brahma and Mr. Michael Susudis. In fact, that day when we were picked into the Army Peace Corps, Michael Susudis, Dr. Farouk Brahma, Alaji Waya, and I was lucky. When we got to the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, the soldiers looked at me and said, "You small boy, when big men are walking, you will join them," and pushed me out of the Peace Corps. I fell, and with my bruises, I went home peacefully. So I didn't receive the slaps Susudis and Alaji Waya and Farouk Brahma received. That was the debacle that led to the formation of the NDC, Mr. Speaker. Of that, So in 1992, I wanted to contest as a parliamentary candidate of the NDC. My father was insisting I became the parliamentary candidate of the NCP because the stalwart Nkrumahist movement in Odododio, then Ashedu Ketega, would not agree. Luckily enough, he influenced me to abandon my father's ship and join the NDC. Unfortunately, my dream to become the member of parliament didn't materialize. There was the agreement that the NCP must cede the Ashedu Keteke seat to the NDC. So Ishmael Aite became the member of parliament for Dododio, then Ashedu Keteke. Mr. Speaker, Iti did not leave me behind. He stayed with me and encouraged me to contest in 1996. Once again, the dream fizzled out when after 2 attempts at the primaries, the primaries was cancelled and Ni Okanja Damafio, the uncle of the current regional minister for Greater Accra, became the candidate and the MP for the Dodiodio. I was very much unhappy with the decision. I wanted to go back to my father's party, the CPP, but UT gave me much encouragement. I stayed on, left for further studies outside the country in 2001. Then there was reorganization of the party after that in 2001. In September, I remember very well, 14th September, I was in Manchester when I had a call for Honorable Mensah to proceed to become a member of the reorganization team of the party. Mr. Speaker, I came back, was part, we worked together with him in Greater Accra region, and ultimately in 2002 became the parliamentary candidate of the NDC in the Asiri, only for our brothers on the other side to contrive and connive to prevent me from achieving the objective of becoming a member of parliament in 2004. So, after 4 years, in 2012, I remember very well, he called me to his office and introduced a young man to me. That young man, he said, "This is my son, in whom I'm well pleased, but I'm handing him over to you. I want him to groom and nurture him, just as I groomed you." Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to say that young man I groomed and nurtured is today a member of parliament for Ningo Pram, Mr. Sam George, Honorable Sam George. So just as E.T. Mensah groomed me, he asked me to groom Sam George, and Sam George is here today as a member of parliament, and the two of us can bear testimony to the fact that Honorable E.T. Mensah groomed us, nurtured us. Mr. Speaker, I also remember one of the young men that Honorable E.T. Mensah introduced has grown to become a leader of this house on the minority side. Today he sits here as a member of parliament for Tamale South, Honorable Aruna Idrisu. And I know he had a good working relationship with former leader Honorable Rashid Pepo, because we worked together at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And of course, this young boy sitting behind me, Honorable Edward Bauer. So he has influenced a lot of us. E.T. Mensah has an eye to nurture young guys and to use you positively to achieve results of the NDC. If there is something I learned from him, it is organizational ability. E.T. will not organize anything and sit down and look at people to do it. He himself is an hands-on organizer. He wants to see
when people come to his house, he will sit down for them to be served. He himself will pick the drink, the cup, everything, and serve you. He serves the people who come to him. He was a servant leader. Mr. Speaker, I know he wasn't perfect. Sometimes, when he wants to achieve an objective, he will not listen to anybody. He will pursue his objective. When he fails, he takes responsibility for it. And I remember very well when we had differences before the 2016 elections. He said, "You, from today, you are no more my son." I said, "You can only say that to your wife, Auntie Vida, but me, you can divorce your wife, but you can't throw me out of your family." Mr. Speaker, it's sad that the last time I met him was here in Parliament House. He has come to transact business at the National Investment Bank. He called me, we had a discussion, and Mr. Speaker, the discussion was centered on how to get him to forgive my brother and visit him in the house. He agreed that on his return from the medical review, he will welcome me and my brother Sam George to his house for reconciliation. And it's sad that he didn't come back. I'm sure if he had come back, we would have resolved some of the problems we have today. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that our uncle, friend, colleague, comrade has left us, but I know his memory in some of us, our life, will never fade. Long live the Yiti Mensah we know, the Washe we know, the Mensah we know, and don't live all the things and the young ones he's groomed for the future of the NDC. Mr. Speaker, with this, I thank you so much for the opportunity to at least I paid my tribute to my political godfather. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I know the leaders, you understand. We have to move on. I didn't anticipate that Honorable Lante Vanderpoel would take such a long time. And so we have some business to transact before we go to observe the Christmas carols. So please, I plead with you, let us move on and just observe a minute silence in honor of our late colleague, E.T. Mensah. Minute silence, please. May the soul of Honorable Enoch Tai Mensah and the souls of all the faithful departed rest in perfect peace. Amen. Yes, honorable members, we move on. Yes.
Speaker, may we turn to page 10.
Page 10?
Yes, please. Page 10, and we are starting off with item 10. Page 10, item 10. Speaker, if I may seek your leave for the item to be taken by the Deputy Minister of
Honorable members, page 10 of the order paper, item 10, motion, Minister for Finance. Honorable members,
We are seek your leave for it to be done by the Deputy Minister.
the second Deputy Speaker to take the chair. Please, Deputy Minister, you may do so for and on behalf of the Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that motion item listed as 10 on page 10, that is an amount of 58,415,102 for the services of Office of the Head of Civil Service be approved for the year ending 31st December 2024. I so move.
Any seconder?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion and in the process present your committee's report. I request the Hansa Department to capture the entire content whilst I take the conclusion. The committee, Mr. Speaker, recommends to the House to approve the sum of 58,415,102 Ghana cedis for the implementation of the programs and activities of the Office of the Head of Civil Service for the financial year commencing on the first day of January 2024 and ending on the 31st day of December 2024 in accordance with the Constitution and law. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, motion moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. Yes, please. Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the approval of the budget estimate for the Head of Civil Service. Mr. Speaker, we all know that the Head of Civil Service is at the heart of the capacity of this country to manage our ministries, departments, and agencies. And in recent years, it has been very pivotal in making sure that government is able to recruit and retain the appropriate number of staff, particularly technical staff at a higher level, to manage our civil service. Mr. Speaker, I note that in the period under review, particularly the 2023 budget, the Ministry of Finance was magnanimous in the releases to the Head of Civil Service, said that by the end of September, they had made significant resources available to the Head of Civil Service for the conduct of his services. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the budget for the Head of Civil Service for 2024 would further enhance the capacity of the service to provide more technical assistance and technical staff to support government in the delivery of e-services. Mr. Speaker, I therefore call on all and sundry to support, approve the budget so that they could still go ahead and conduct its business for next years. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Very well, honourable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is as many as are in favour of motion listed today, order paper 10. All those in favour of the motion say aye. All those against say no. Honourable members, it's obvious the ayes have it. The motion is adopted, and that this honourable House approves the sum of 58,415,102 Ghana cedis for the services of the Office of the Head of Civil Service for the year ending 31st December 2024. Yes, leader.
Speaker, item 11 on same page. to be taken by same Deputy Minister. Speaker, with your leave.
Yes, honorable members, on the same page, item listed 11. Item listed 11 by the Minister for Finance. So the Deputy Minister for Finance will do that.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that motion listed as item 11 on page 10, that this Honorable House approve the sum of 3,275,187 for the services of the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, for the year ending 31st December 2024. I so move.
Honorable members, the motion has been moved by the Finance Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I don't even know what motion we have because I didn't hear him.
You couldn't hear him?
I didn't hear him. He didn't speak loudly. We don't even know what we are approving. I didn't hear him.
Very well, very well. Don't fight over this. Honorable Minister, I'll give you the opportunity to speak to their hearing.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that motion listed as item 11, that this Honorable House approve the sum of 63,275,187 for the services of the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, for the year ending 31st December 2024 be approved. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I guess now everybody heard him. Yes, Honorable Chairman of the committee, you may second the motion.
I rise to second the motion and in the process present the committee's report. I request the Hansa Department to capture the entire content whilst I go straight to the conclusion. The committee, upon a thorough consideration of the budget estimates for the National Development Planning Commission, respectfully recommends that the House approves the sum of 63,275,187 Ghana cedis for the implementation of the programs and activities of the Commission for the 2024 financial year. Respectfully submitted as a group, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable John Janapo. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to contribute to the comments and the motion moved. Mr. Speaker, the NDPC remains a very, very pivotal structure when it comes to our national development. And for me, if this country really wants to develop, we ought to pay particular attention to the National Development Planning Commission. In most countries where they have witnessed accelerated economic development, their equivalent of the National Development Planning Commission, which is non-partisan, is at the center of policy making. Indeed, what they do is that they formulate policy over a long period of time, and irrespective of the government that is in power, your budget only aims to achieve what the National Development Planning Commission is set out. And so, Mr. Speaker, even as we approve their budget, I just thought that I should share this experience with the House and with the nation, so that eventually we can gravitate towards a system where, irrespective of the political regime, the National Development Planning Commission would continue to play a pivotal role. Mr. Speaker, if you look at page 4 of their budget, with goods and services, out of 5 million, so far 3 million has been released, which is not that bad. But clearly 5 million is quite a small amount. And so it is my hope that in subsequent budgets, they would see an appreciation, because in 2024, goods and services is still just about 5 million. And looking at the rate of inflation, one would have thought that they would have seen an upward adjustment. But finally, I would also want to encourage the National Development Planning Commission itself to be innovative, because sometimes you cannot rely only on government budget. And for such a body, they can even do research for other international organizations. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I want to associate myself and recommend to the House to approve the budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the NDPC is a very important institution, and this point must be emphasized, that the work of the NDPC is at the core of this country's development. If we are to make progress, we must be very consistent in its support and make sure that each government will continue to implement those policies by the NDPC. We must take the opportunity to emphasize that over the years, that's what we've done. Every time we plan any work, when there's a change in government, we start afresh. The NDPC's function is important. Its function in helping the government machinery to be more efficient, monitoring, planning, evaluation, not for 4 years, but for a long haul. That's the only way we can get there. The Speaker, and so we must take this institution very seriously and make sure we fund it appropriately. On that note, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion for the approval of the budget. Thank you.
Honourable members, thank you very much. The question is, all those in favour of the motion listed 11 in today's order paper, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion listed 11 in today's order paper is hereby adopted, and that this Honourable House approves the sum of 63,275,187 Ghana cedis for the services of the National Development Planning Commission NDPC for the year ending 31st December 2024. Yes, leader.
Yeah, so now on the same page, item 13. And
item
13. 13. And I seek your leave for it to be done by your Honorable Deputy Minister, Abna Osea, sorry.
Very well. Honorable Deputy Minister and Member for Etiwa East, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honourable House approves the sum of 2,074,826,164 Ghana cedis for the services of the Office of Government Machinery for the year ending 31st December 2024. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Well, honourable members, the motion has been moved. Let me invite the Finance Committee Chairman to second and present the committee's report.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion and in the process submit the committee's report. I request the Hansa Department to capture the entire content whilst I take the conclusion. Mr. Speaker, the committee, after critically examining the 2024 budget estimates of the Office of Government Machinery, recommends that the House approves the sum of 2,074,827,164 Ghana cedis for the 2024 financial year. Respectfully submitted, I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Ranking.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion for the approval of the budget of the Office of Government Machinery. But Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I would like to register a number of concerns that goes to the heart of the public financial management of our country. Mr. Speaker, the office of the President is the highest office in our country and must lead by example. Mr. Speaker, when we passed the Public Financial Management Act, we expected the office of the President to take the lead in signaling to the whole government that that law is to be taken seriously and is to be respected. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the office of the President is the most guiltiest of all agencies in complying with that law.
Mr. Speaker, we are here to see a budget performance report from the Office of the President. The reason why the budget performance report is important is because, Mr. Speaker, we know that when we are approving the budget, normally the numbers that we use would end at September. So we have no way of knowing how the whole year will end. That is why Section 27 of the Public Financial Management Act requires that 3 months after the year has ended, the budget performance report is presented to Parliament and referred to the appropriate committee to highlight how the year ended in December of that year. So as we speak, at a minimum, we should have had a budget performance report for 2022 so that we know how we ended the year in 2022. That we do not have as we speak. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, it is even made worse because as of September, if you look at the numbers that are coming from the Office of the President, they are very worrying. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the unit under the Office of the President, you will notice that the Chief of Staff Secretariat, which is at the heart of the Office of the President, is very reckless in government expenditure. Mr. Speaker, how on earth can you get releases of 131 million and be able to spend 144 million? You are giving 133 million, but you magically spend 144 million. How do you get that money? So it means something wrong is happening there. That the office or the chief of staff is able to make expenditures irrespective of whether you make releases to the office or not. And we need to get to the bottom of how that office is able to make the money to spend when it has not even been released those monies. Said that when we release 131, we expect you to spend 131 million, you spend 144 million, and we don't know where you get that money from. Mr. Speaker, you can look at the Cabinet Secretariat. The Cabinet Secretariat had a budget of 4.5 million, and by September, we are not even at the end of the year, by September, they are spending 7.6 million. So clearly, the Office of the President is not part of our budget. Half of them, they spend as they wish. They don't care about appropriation, and all they are doing is spending money that you don't know how they got it. That when you budget for 4.5, in September, you haven't even ended the year, they are already doing 7.6. Actually, overspending their budget by September of almost 3 million, which is against the Public Financial Management Act. Mr. Speaker, look at the Press Secretariat. The Press Secretariat was released 89,000, but they spent 152,000. I don't know how the Office of the President is able to find those monies that it has not been given. That when you release 89,000 and you expect them to spend 89,000, they will spend 152. So, Mr. Speaker, this is the office that is supposed to be signaling to the whole government how to be responsible in our fiscal management, and that is the office that is really guilty of being fiscally irresponsible. Mr. Speaker, another challenge is that the National Identification Authority, which is part of the Office of the President, has actually signed an agreement with a private service provider, and they call that agreement the government support agreement. That agreement basically says that even though the agreement we have signed with you to provide the capacity for Ghana Car, you are supposed to make your money by selling the data to private individuals and government and make your money. However, if you don't make the money, government will pay that money to you. And Parliament is not aware of such an arrangement. So in addition to the budget that we are approving for NIA, they now go and spend money outside of appropriation, outside of the budget, in the name of what they call the government support agreement. Mr. Speaker, we want to know how much they have been paying ever since they established, because that is against the Public Financial Management Act. You cannot be spending money that you have not been appropriated in this house. And you cannot be signing agreements to be guaranteeing revenues that the people who hold the public purse are not aware. But as we speak currently, the National Identification Authority is paying money behind the back of Parliament over our heads. And only they know where they pay that money from. And it is important that we get to the bottom of identifying where they are making those monies from. But Mr. Speaker, in an era of austerity, where ministries, departments, and agencies are struggling to raise money to fund their activities, the Office of the President is moving from a budget of 1.4 billion to 2 billion. Mr. Speaker, as for the Office of the President, they are looking for more money. And everybody else is tightening the belt because we don't have enough resources. But the Office of the President is moving from 1.4 billion to 2 billion. But you know, per their conduct, you approve 2 billion, they will spend 3 billion. Because I have demonstrated to you how the Chief of Staff is spending money that we don't know where he's getting it from. How they are spending money at the Cabinet Secretariat that they have not been given. The Secretariat is spending more money that they have not been provided. And in addition, NHIA is spending on government support agreements that we do not know where they are spending the money from. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we should just give the Office of the President a blanket check and not be pretending that we are approving any limit, because for them, they will end up exceeding these limits. And that is the most irresponsible behavior that the Office of the President is noted for in our budget management. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I reluctantly support the motion. Thank you very much.
I'm coming. Yes, Honorable John Janapo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable, let me appeal to you. Be snappy for me.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'll be very snappy. I'll be very snappy. In fact, I do not intend to use more than 15 minutes to finish this discussion. Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious matter. And I think that as members of Parliament, irrespective of our political inclination, we should take this very serious. Where the NIA goes ahead to secure a government consent and support agreement without Parliament's approval. I mean, you cannot commit the whole Ghana to pay for your differential without parliamentary approval. It's not done anywhere. And for me, I think that this House should take a serious view of this. Because I do recall, Mr. Speaker, that right in this chamber, the NIA appeared before us in 2018 and told us that the state would not pay any money as far as the Ghana card was concerned. Today, memory down the lane, we've realized that indeed, it is the Republic of Ghana that has to pay. Mr. Speaker, at committee level, some of us took an entrenched position that their budget should not be approved. But for Honorable Kwaku Kwarteng's tact, his sophistry, his eloquence, his magnanimity, and his ability to move and wiggle his way between the maze and ensure that he brings conformity and a certain level of coercion amongst ourselves, Mr. Speaker, this budget wouldn't have been approved. Mr. Speaker, on that note, Mr. Speaker, I know for a fact that based on this performance alone, in January's reshuffle, he will be elevated as a cabinet minister as far as I'm concerned. Mr. Speaker, on that note, I thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, Vice Chairman of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make a few comments.
Vice Chairman, may you speak to the mic for me?
I'm sure you are listening to echoes from...
I'm saying speak to the mic.
And I'm saying you are listening to echoes from my right. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important motion being debated. And I believe that the agencies listed under the Office of Government Machinery are performing strategic roles for the development of this country. I appreciate the comment from Honorable Adongo and Honorable Jinapo on some over expenditure, which we all asked various questions on during the deliberations of the estimates from the OGM, on the OGM. Mr. Speaker, that notwithstanding, when you look at the Millennium Development Authority and the role they are going to play in developing over 10,000 hectares of land around the Kumewu enclave, the Banda enclave, which has about 6,000 acres of land, and the Kasunya enclave, which is going to develop over 7,000 hectares of land, Mr. Speaker. These are very innovative arrangements under the MIDA or Millennium Development Authority, which I support, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to add too much to what has been presented, Mr. Speaker, but to ask for the House to support the motion and approve the sum as stated in the motion paper. Thank you very much.
Very well. Let me take. Yeah, Speaker. Honorable Helena, I'll plead with you, be snappy for me. Yeah, go on, but be snappy for me. Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the motion. And Mr. Speaker, to thank you, particularly on the Council of State, to recognize what Gloria Akufu, then as Attorney General, did as part of her contribution to deepening our governance in making sure that the Council of State is now a creation of statute beyond the Constitution mentioning it. Mr. Speaker, one of the institutions mentioned here is Inner City and Zongo Development Secretariat. And President Nana Addo Dankwa must endeavor to stop this duplication of bureaucracies. What does Inner City Development Secretariat do that a district assembly or a municipal assembly cannot do? Then, Mr. Speaker, National Identification Authority, we need to know. Many a times when we argue about our national ID card, nobody is saying that the Electoral Commission of Ghana cannot use the national ID card as sole reference document, but they must make the national ID card increasingly accessible, increasingly available to Ghanaians. It should not be one for which we struggle or Ghanaian citizens struggle to get a national ID card. When you go to the regional office, regional coordinating councils, daily I drive through the Northern Regional Coordinating Councils from my house into town. You see young girls and sometimes even aged persons queuing to have a national ID card. Government should endeavor to make the ID card available. Then, Mr. Speaker, Public Sector Reform Secretariat, what are we reforming? We have a bloated public service in Ghana. We are not doing enough to do it. Mr. Speaker, may I refer you to page 10 of your committee's report, Development Authorities, another duplication, Northern Development Authority, Coastal Development Authority, Middle Development Authority. Mr. Speaker, if you take a copy of the budget statement, you see that Minister Ken Ofori-Atta reported that Kotokuraba market in the central region was built by this administration. How possible? How possible? Kotokuraba was late Atamia's signature program to the people of the central region. But when you take your budget copy, the final copy, and read the picture column, you see Kotokuraba market being attributed to Central Development Authority. There are duplication. All those authorities and bureaucracies must be collapsed. Mr. Speaker, whilst approving the budget of government machinery, I'm asking for a forensic audit as to how much money the Ministry of Finance have borrowed from state-owned agencies, Ghana Gas, Electricity Company, NCA, those of them who have other holding that the office of Chief of Staff have taken money away from them. We need to know. So go and conduct the audit onto those things and then come back and say that you want money for it. Millennium Development Authority, thanks to President Kufuor, a lot was achieved under them. And then when you borrow, we are aware that you have borrowed. from some state institutions. That's why Cocoa Board is struggling. They cannot even raise $800 million, the most costly and the most expensive loan ever taken by it. So we are destroying some of the state institutions. So, Mr. Speaker, mass law, we need a legislation to guide what they are doing. I want somebody to tell me, in the past, NYEP, subsequent to the probe that was done about it, mass law, who gets what, when? Accountability of mass law. We should know how much money is being disbursed, who are the beneficiaries, how is it disbursed. Then finally, Mr. Speaker, a question on mass law, how much has been disbursed and to whom? I choose what to do. You don't determine what I should do. So, Mr. Speaker, mass law, we need a legal framework for mass law. It cannot be as it is. Then, Ghana Investment Promotion Council. We are not doing too well in terms of our investment because of the very state of the Ghanaian economy. It's an economy which is not attractive to investors because our debt is not sustainable. The implementation of Ghana COVID alleviation and revitalization of enterprise support, Ghana Cares project, that is under what used to be called the National Board for Small Scale Industry. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support the motion, but ask that we know what is it that the states have taken from other state institutions to support its operations. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Honorable Minority Leader, do you still, okay. You still want to? No. I mean, let me give one of you.
Mr. Speaker,
let's take one.
Mr. Speaker,
No, this is the government machinery.
Mr. Speaker,
2 billion.
No, Mr. Speaker, I'm not taking the position of the minority leader. I'm not. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak to this motion. Mr. Speaker, as other colleagues have said, a number of the organizations under the office of the president was created simply to put resources under the presidency. Mr. Speaker, what actually is the use of the development authorities? Complete waste. It's just a quango for nothing. Mr. Speaker, Koda started a project, a 6-unit project, a classroom project in our constituency. It's been abandoned for ages. Get Fund could have done that. What is the point of asking Northern Coastal Development Authority to go and build a classroom? Has Get Fund failed to do so? Get Fund is unable to do these things because they don't have the money. Then you go and create another Kwango and then call it and staff it with all manner of people and then say that you can go and award a 6-unit classroom block. Mr. Speaker, then you go and put the money under the presidency. Mr. Speaker, I think this house should be thinking of actually considering some of the things we do in this house. In fact, sometimes you cannot blame government for, because we passed it. And I remember the majority leader told us how the setting up of the development authorities was going to be a game changer, was going to make things better. Today, even once the 6-unit classroom block in Adapu have been abandoned. So where are the promises you gave us? Mr. Speaker, we should have been trying to actually rescind some of the decisions. The development authorities can be collapsed today. It will actually give better value for money for our country. Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that the project being done under the development authorities could be done under any other organization of government that already exists. If you say that you did it because you want to create job for people, I can understand.
Local government should get all.
I mean, local government, Ministry of Education. Mr. Speaker, all these things, the drill boreholes, completely unnecessary. Mr. Speaker, we should disband that of the development authority and transfer the resources somewhere else. Mr. Today, as you see it here, Mr. Speaker, your own assembly is deprived of resources. Are you saying that the engineers at the assembly, if the assembly common fund is given to them, the engineers and the education directorate at your assembly couldn't have gone to build a 6-unit classroom block, drill boreholes,
Do you actually need a new government entity to drill boreholes? You don't. It is a waste of resources and only a pretext to go and put more resources under the presidency. And guess what? When they put the money under the presidency, we have good allocation, they hardly give the money to those organizations. They spend it anyhow they like. Mr. Speaker, my recommendation would be that at least the development authorities should be outlawed. It is completely unnecessary, a waste of resources, and actually relocate those activities to the rightful places. The development authorities' activities can perfectly be carried out by the Ministry of Local Government and then these assemblies without any show of how do you call it? Inefficiencies. In fact, Mr. Speaker, do you notice that the government did something right? We said we are not going to have deputy regional ministers. Today, we don't have deputy regional ministers. Has the regional coordinating councils shown any lack of capacity? No. The same way, we can collapse the development authorities and let the Ministry of Local Government and the District Assembly do the work, and we can get better value. As for this one, it's one of the things that I think the House urged by helping the majority to pass this development authority bill. It was the wrong thing, and we should find a way of actually rescinding our decision that we've now realized that it's a bad decision, and we should take back our decision and do the right thing. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, my approval actually is everything minus the development authority. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to also contribute to the motion that was moved by the chairman of the Finance Committee. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, it will interest you to note that even though the year 2023, the expenditure returns that were submitted to the Finance Committee were for the period between January to September 2023. It surprises me to see that almost all the cost lines for the office of the president in particular, they have exceeded it. Almost all. Mr. Speaker, what surprises me was the quantum of amount that has been spent at the office of the Chief of Staff Secretariat in particular. Mr. Speaker, year to September, 144.8 million Ghana cedis as against releases of 131.4 million. Mr. Speaker, clearly there's something very wrong with the document that was submitted to the Finance Committee. Again, Mr. Speaker, the Cabinet Secretariat, their budget for the entire year was 4.3 million. But from January to September, the Cabinet Secretariat had exceeded their budget, and the amount they spent for the first 9 months was 7.6 million. So clearly you can see that there is over expenditure at the office of the President in particular, while the other agencies under the government machinery were struggling to get releases. But what surprises me most is the budget allocation for the year 2024. While the office of the President in particular were allocated something about 1.4 billion this year for 2022, they have allocated 1.2 billion for the entire office of government machinery. Mr. Speaker, the office of the President in particular, their budget is being increased by over 100%, from 2023 to 2024. So my question is, what exactly are they going to do in the year 2024? Is it the elections? Is it the reason why they have budgeted so much, Mr. Speaker? The key question I have here, Mr. Speaker, is that the office of the President alone, their goods and services budget is 450 million Ghana cedis. Goods and services alone. And this is according to the budget statement
page 191. Goods and services alone, 450 million Ghana cedis. The budget they have allocated for the office of the president alone is 1,093 million Ghana cedis. 1 billion for the year 2024. This week I felt that I think all of us agree that the country is in a major crisis. And if the country is in a crisis, then there's the need for us to be careful how we spend money. Let's look at the office of the government machinery's budget has moved from 1.4 billion to 2,074 million. But the office of the president budget has been increased over 100%. And the details is shocking. In fact, CAPEX, capital expenditure alone at the office of the president in particular is 67 million Ghana cedis. 67 million Ghana cedis. What at all are they purchasing? Capital expenditure. How many cars are they buying? To the extent that they will have to budget 67 million Ghana cedis for capital expenditure. Mr. Speaker, largely this amount is for the purchases of cars. My concern is it because election is staring at us? And is that the reason why? And that is the question I'm asking. Is it because election is staring at us, and that is why the office of government machinery budget has moved from 1.4 billion to 2 billion? Or is it because of the elections? That is why the office of the president in particular, the budget for the office of the president has been increased from about 400 million to 1 billion Ghana cedis. 400 million to about 1 billion Ghana cedis, of which goods and services alone amounting to 450.6 million Ghana cedis. Goods and services alone. What at all are they using this money for? Goods and services. Because this is according to the budget statement before us. The Speaker, these are things that I believe that this House must call and demand answers from the office of the president. The Speaker, Chief of Staff's office is where most of concentrated, particularly the special operations account. And the details as was presented by the office of the president in a document that were submitted to the finance committee. The Speaker, is something that we should all be worried about. The Chief of Staff's goods and services is 7.2 million Ghana cedis. That's for Chief of Staff alone. 277.2 million Ghana cedis. So Speaker, I think this amount is a bit too much, and it's more than 100% of what was allocated for in the year 2023. So Speaker, in as much as we will support that this budget must be approved, it calls for some concern, and there's the need for us to get some answers. I recognize that the Chief of Staff is not here to answer these questions, but the mover of the motion must give us some clarity as to why we have seen an exponential increase in the allocations that the government has made to the office of the Chief of Staff and the office of the President. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, honourable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is all those in favour of the motion listed 13 in today's order paper, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion listed 13 is adopted, and that this honourable House approves the sum of 2,727,164 Ghana cedis for the services of the Office of Government Machinery for the year ending 31st December 2024.
Speaker, on same page, item 12. To be taken by the Deputy Minister.
Very well. So, honourable members, item 12 motion on the same page in today's order paper. Yes, Honourable Deputy Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honourable House approves the sum of 2,249,577,038 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Finance for the year ending 31st December 2024. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable members, the motion has been moved. Let me invite the Finance Committee Chair to second and present the committee report. Yes, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion and in the process present the committee's report. Mr. Speaker, I request the Handler Department to capture the entire content whilst I go directly to the conclusion. The committee respectfully recommends to the House to adopt this report and approve the sum of 2,249,477,038 Ghana cedis for the implementation of the programs and activities of the Ministry of Finance and its agencies for the 2024 financial year. Respectfully submitted, I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, honourable member for Gatanga Central.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the budget for the Ministry of Finance. But in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I would like to highlight a few disturbing developments that are occurring within that ministry. Mr. Speaker, we are all aware that as a country we are going through very difficult times. Mr. Speaker, we are all aware that our children are still learning under trees. We are aware that several Ghanaians are struggling to find potable water to stay healthy. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that farmers are struggling to have agricultural services and equipment. But most of all, Mr. Speaker, we are aware that a lot of our roads are in deplorable state and will require them being fixed. Mr. Speaker, I say this because one would have wished that if there is an opportunity to increase our capital expenditure, it will go towards the development of these issues that I have mentioned. Unfortunately, what we see is that the Ministry of Finance and its agencies are rushing ahead of each other to build new head offices. Mr. Speaker, the Securities and Exchange Commission is budgeting to spend $17 million to build a new head office. Mr. Speaker, the authority is budgeting to spend $79 million to build head office. Mr. Speaker, the Finance Ministry itself is spending $20 million to build its own office. And Mr. Speaker, if we add the almighty Bank of Ghana that is spending $250 million, it appears that the Ministry of Finance and its agencies are more interested in the comfort in Accra and not their offices across the country. Mr. Speaker, GRA has offices all over the place. They are not interested in those ones. They are interested in an edifice that they will be very proud of and get the comfort. Mr. Speaker, this government appears, from what I'm seeing, not to be interested in infrastructure for the ordinary man. They are not interested in schools. So when you see the CAPEX, the capital expenditure budget, you will think that it is for schools. No, it is for head office. When you see the CAPEX in our budget, you probably think that it is for our roads. No, it is for these things. Mr. Speaker, when you see CAPEX in our budget, you probably think that they are building hospitals. No, they are building head offices. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance should be the agency.
Honourable Member for Boga Central, hold on. Let me invite the Deputy Minister for Finance. Yes, Honourable Abraham Sasa.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, this house is a house of records. In this budget, we have the CAPEX column. Ministry of Roads was given CAPEX. Ministry of Health was also giving capex. So for my brother on the other side to say that the capex you see in the are for buildings for Ministry of Finance and its agencies, that is wholly untrue, and I think he should retract that. Clearly, in this budget, Mr. Speaker, unless we want to say that we haven't approved any portion of capex for all the other MDAs, and that is when he can say that. But not when he knows very well that all the other MDAs, in one way or the other, have received some portion of capex. So he cannot tell us that the capex you see in this budget is solely for buildings for Ministry of Finance and its agencies. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Adongo, just take you and focus.
Mr. Speaker, I'm struggling to understand what the point of order is, because I did not say that the entire capex is being used to build head office. I never said that. Under the word solely. You don't determine what I say in this house. I determine my communication. And now my communication is that if a Ministry of Finance and its agencies will have a capital budget that is almost equivalent to what is going to our roads, that is not a priority. Our priority should be our roads. Our priority should be our schools, our hospitals, electricity, not head office. And you're spending $366 million just to build head offices, and you say that we shouldn't talk about it. You are Securities and Exchange Commission. Is it not true that they want to spend $70 million? Is it not the case that GRA is spending $7 to $9 million? Is it not the case that Ministry of Finance is spending $20 million? Is it not the case that Bank of Ghana is spending $250 million? All of that for infrastructure.
Honorable Adongo, you are shouting to my face.
Mr. Speaker, what is that? Mr. Speaker?
Yes, now
Mr. Speaker, you can block it and let me speak.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much. Speaker, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I apologize. Thank you.
Yes. Adongo. Leader. Very well. So I'll put your question. Yes, Honorable Chief Minority Chief Whip.
You also want to speak. You want to apologize. You don't want him to apologize. So make an application. This is serious matter. Everybody must speak. Enemies.
Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance budget is a very, very important report to be debated. Mr. Speaker, I want you to give opportunities to a lot more colleagues who should raise issues that border on the finances of this country. I can see at least 5 people behind me who want to speak, Mr. Speaker. So if you can give opportunity to people. Honorable Dapameko want to speak. Honorable Haruna want to speak. I'll speak. So Mr. Speaker, if you can accommodate us.
I want to speak.
And then leader will want to speak.
Okay, I'm sending somebody to come out.
Mr. Speaker,
this is actually your.
I apologize for my response to you. But let it slide. But Mr. Speaker, I just want government to take a cue from the fact that Ghanaians are suffering. Our children are struggling to have decent places to learn. Our hospitals are inadequate and are in deplorable state. Mr. Speaker, our roads are death traps.
The colleague on the floor
used very objectionable words. And then he gets up to say that, I apologize. Namely, our orders provide that in such circumstances, you should retract those words first before you apologize. What you said, that the speaker can block his ears. What kind of language is here? The speaker can block his ears. The speaker, those words are very offensive, they are very objectionable, and my colleague should rise up and humbly and respectfully retract those words and apologize.
Mr. Speaker, when I rose, the first thing I did was to apologize and retract. Unfortunately, my colleague wasn't listening. But he knows that I'm humble enough to retract and apologize. And I did just that. But of course, it doesn't take away the fact that our monies are being misapplied. It doesn't take away the fact that we are building for the comfort in Accra. It doesn't take away the fact that we are not interested in building the hospitals that we need. It doesn't take away the fact that when we get money to build capital expenditure, we are not putting them in the rows. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't take away the fact that our children are learning under trees whilst we are interested and busy building head offices. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't take away the fact that people in my constituency are struggling to drink potable water. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't take away the fact that our farmers are struggling to have decent equipment to farm. Mr. Speaker, when Ghana has an opportunity to spend $366 million, I don't think that the first thing that should come to our mind is to build headquarters. Mr. Speaker, how on earth can one ministry and its agencies be spending close to $366 million? What went into that prioritization? And when you want to say it, you rise on a point of order to say that there are budget for roads. Mr. Speaker, we have serious infrastructure deficits in our country. And for the first time, if we have an opportunity to spend money that we are making savings from the poor person who invested money in government bonds, and we are not able to pay for those bonds, and we are making savings, shouldn't that money be going to help the people whose monies are being saved? The savings we are making from DDEP, the savings we are making from debt restructuring, we are not putting the money where our mouths are. We are not putting the money on our roads. We are not putting the money to build our hospitals. And when we complain, you say you don't understand. Of course, it means that some people are not living in this difficult Ghana. Otherwise, there will be better use of these resources that we are channeling into building head offices everywhere. It appears that all the agencies are in competition with each other just to build offices and just to build head offices. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I would like to encourage the government to prioritize infrastructure in our rural communities and not infrastructure in building head offices and edifices in Accra. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to add my voice for the House to approve the sum of 2.24 billion for the Ministry of Finance for its activities in 2024. And Mr. Speaker, in doing so, let me draw attention to some matters arising from the report. Mr. Speaker, let me refer the House to paragraph 7 under observations, paragraph 7, sub Roman numeral 5 on page 12 of the report. Mr. Speaker, I was hoping that the ministry would have told this House that as part of the slogan protecting the public purse, they would have told this House how many contracts have been awarded through single source so far. There's no indication. And yet they say that they want to depart from the practice of awarding contracts on single source. So, it's in the report. Yabuama, read the report. Go to page 12 of the report. And at the head note, protecting the public pets. You are not protecting the public pets at all. By your conduct, Mr. Speaker, a lot of contracts are being awarded through single source with no justification. Where there are entities that engage in the same business, Mr. Speaker, the ministry still finds it prudent to simply award contracts to one entity. Speaker, I was hoping that they would tell us. And let me again touch on the issue of how they intend to modernize statistics, modernization strategy. Mr. Speaker, before then, under GIPMIS, the ministry told the committee that pursuant to Section 25 subsections of the law, every MMDA, every entity is now on the GIPMIS system. Mr. Speaker, clearly they are not reading the Auditor General's report. If they are reading the Auditor General's report, a lot of entities are unable to transact through the GIPMIS system. Mr. Speaker, as a result of what? Because the system is based on technology, and I'm very happy that the Honorable Minister for Communications and Digitalization is in the House. The Auditor General has flagged this matter. We have directed that the Ministry of Communications should roll out infrastructure that will enable the entities located in rural areas like Sabda in the water region, like Narerigu in the northern region, so that they can transact public business through through the GIPMIS system. Mr. Speaker, it hasn't happened. A couple of days ago, we just took the report on Ministry of Communication and Digitalization. She lamented copiously about inadequacy of funds to be able to roll out the infrastructure for the rural telephony program. Mr. Speaker, the rural telephony program would have been one of the infrastructure that would have allowed the entities to roll onto the GIPMIS system. So it is entirely inadequate that every district assembly, every entity located in the Republic of Ghana, in the four walls of this country, is transacting public businesses using the GIPMIS system. Mr. Speaker, it is most inadequate. Mr. Speaker, finally, let me say, yes, I will finish. Let me say that, Mr. Speaker, it is also not accurate.
Mr. Speaker, as I speak, and just to give the honourable member for Southside the comfort that the Ministry of Communications is actually working on providing infrastructure to all offices of the assemblies to enable them utilize the GIPMIS system, not under the Rural Telephony Project, but under the World Bank funded e-Transform project, which is providing a government connectivity network as we speak to connect all offices of assemblies in the country, police stations, post offices, selected health institutions, and universities. And so we are mindful of the need to provide high-speed connectivity to users of the GIPMIS to enable them utilize that, because we know and have been made aware that connectivity to these institutions is a major challenge. So I'll urge the honourable member to be assured that very, very soon, none of these agencies will have the excuse of poor connectivity in not using the GIPMIS system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the Honourable Minister for Communication and Digitalization for her somehow intervention. Is she saying that she didn't lament on this floor
just a couple of days ago about resources to enable her roll out the program. But the issue is that, Mr. Speaker, I'm addressing you, Mr. Speaker. The issue is that the Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana, he has audited the agencies and come to Parliament to say that not all the agencies and the MMDAs are transacting public business using the Give Me system. And that, as a result of that, Mr. Speaker, this has occasioned a loss to the state, financial loss to the state, because monies, transactions that have been routed outside of the Give Me system, auditors have not been able to evaluate the value for money, which is the requirement at the law. Mr. Speaker, let me refer the House to, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that you want to freeze my time so that when the electronic matters are resolved, I can resume and conclude appropriately. I thank you for the opportunity. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will finish. I thought that because your mic is dysfunctional. Mr. Speaker, the other matter is about the mandate of the ministry, which is contained in paragraph 7/0. Policy formulation and implementation. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, let me read. The committee observed that the Ministry of Finance has a key responsibility of formulating and implementing sound macroeconomic policies, effective mobilization, and efficient allocation of internal and external resources to all sectors of the economy, and ensuring sustainable debt management. Mr. Speaker, the ministry has failed woefully. Yes. As a country, we are in economic distress as a result of the inability of the ministry to carry out its mandate under law. They have done so inefficiently, they have done so incompetently, Mr. Speaker. They have done so, Mr. Speaker, in a manner that they have managed this economy into the gutters. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, like the ranking member said, the ministry found it prudent to prioritize building of a head office. Mr. Speaker, what is wrong with the ministry head office of the Ministry of Finance? Is it that they cannot operate from the offices that they currently occupy? Mr. Speaker, the same institution, the Bank of Ghana, under the aegis of the Ministry of Finance, they are building new offices. What is wrong? NDPC, they want to build new office. Why? All the state institutions, they want to build new offices. Ministry of Agri, they want to build new head office. Mr. Speaker, why? When you are telling pensioners that you cannot pay them, when you are telling pensioners that the monies that they have with you, you can't even pay the interest on it. Mr. Speaker, this is not good enough. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I reluctantly urge the House to approve the sum of 2.24 billion. And subject to the House deducting the amount devoted for the building of the head office. I thank you for the opportunity.
I thought you were going to say that then Parliament should also build the House. I thought you were also going to say that Parliament should also have. Anyway, yes. Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the motion for the approval of that sum of money for the Ministry of Finance. And Mr. Speaker, in doing so, to refer you to paragraph 519 of the committee's report. Page 6. Mr. Speaker, is talking about credit rating agencies will conduct sovereign rating assessment to assess the credit worthiness of the country. Mr. Speaker, today the assessment of Ghana by Fitch, Moody's, and all the internationally respected rating agencies is not one that we can go home with. It is unsatisfactory 1C at default. Ghana has defaulted in servicing its external debt since December 2022. And Mr. Speaker, when Fitch and others rated Ghana, when the Minister for Finance took over and he got good ratings, he was quite excited about the rating here. Then when he got negative rating, you came back to the House and to tell the Ghanaian public that you were questioning the transparency of those rating agencies. For rating agencies, they don't care about Ghana's Minister for Finance. They care about the state of your economy based on unimpeachable data on how you are managing your economy. So when rating agencies speak, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying this because it is only under this government and under this minister that we have had new nomenclature introduced into our economies: domestic debt exchange, external debt exchange, and you say you mobilize 89 billion in domestic exchange. Mr. Speaker, what that means, and Mr. Speaker, it will be the thrust of my debate on this, so I refer you further to paragraph 518, debt management strategy. Mr. Speaker, means that we have failed as a country on our debt management strategy. Ghana's debt at GDP of 98% is simply unsustainable. Currently, the Ministry of Finance and the government of Ghana is engaged with external creditors to reach an agreement on some 10.5 billion on our debt treatment. Mr. Speaker, that has been deferred by the IMF to January 11, 2025. We should be lucky that the cedi does not further depreciate from tomorrow, because if the cocoa board syndicated loan comes in, it will provide that unnatural stability to the cedi. But you need the $600 million from the IMF, the second tranche, in order that you can stabilize the economy. But Mr. Speaker, debt management strategy, President Nana Akufo-Addo and Minister for Finance must accept that they have failed Ghana with their debt management strategy. They don't have any superior debt management strategy, including Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. In 2017, you stood here celebrating that Ghana's debt of 120 billion was colossal. Today is 587 billion Ghana cedis. That's super colossal. That marks the failure, Mr. Speaker. Then, Mr. Speaker, on the external debt, the Ministry of Finance and the government of Ghana announced to external creditors, and they are in 4 components, the external creditors. You have the bilateral, multilateral, you have China, you have Paris Club, and you have commercial bond holders. You have about 1.9 billion owed to China, 5.6 billion to the multilateral. Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Finance, in his inferior debt management strategy, decided to cut off Ghana's debt at March 2020. March 2020. So what happens to the debt between March 2020 and yesterday, December 2023? That is why we have not been able to conclude on the external debt treatment, because they want to know what happens to monies borrowed between the cut-off date of March 2020 and yesterday 2023, when you are still issuing treasury bills. That's borrowing, and you must account for it. Other than that, Mr. Speaker, between 2027 and 2028, there will be another haircut in Ghana or a debt treatment in Ghana if we are not careful. That is why he must negotiate transparently with it. Then, Mr. Speaker, Ministry of Finance, when you came here for e-levy, you said you were going to use it to support the road sector. How much of that money have you given to the road sector? When you came back here for 2.5% VAT, you said part of the money will go to the road sector. How much of it went into the road sector? Then finally, Mr. Speaker, may I refer you to public-private partnership and conclude on Ghana Revenue Authority. Mr. Speaker, today, we are reading about strategic mobilization contracts. I have referred to GRA. I will refer you to a page in the report. Honorable Deputy Minister for Finance, what's your worry? Read page 12, paragraph IV, collaboration between FIC and GRA. Why would the Ghana Revenue Authority enter into such questionable contract with strategic mobilization contract? Mr. Speaker, they must go and abrogate that contract with immediate effect. There is no value for money. You did that for Mackenzie, took a lot of state resources to Mackenzie in the name of revenue assurance. So the GRA, which is supervised by the ministers under the GRA Act, must end all those questionable contracts, including the strategic management. NPA has every regulatory authority and power under their law to deal with those infractions in the name of which you are diverting public funds. That is proper loot and share. When you talk about loot and share, strategic mobilization is proper loot and share. For what work are they doing? A Ministry of Finance, you must conduct value for money audit. Then finally, Mr. Speaker, petroleum holding funds and the reconciliation. So I'm calling on the GRA to abrogate that contract and to commend Mensah Azure. At least there are still good journalists that are holding the state, its institution and its functionaries accountable to the Ghanaian people for the utilization of public funds. There may be many of it. You remember Mackenzie? We drew your attention that while with Ministry of Finance enter into a contract with a South African company in the name of revenue assurance, millions of dollars was paid to Mackenzie. You told this house that when Mackenzie comes, you will improve revenue. What revenue have you improved? You said e-levy, you will bring in 6.9 billion. You are hovering around 500 million. The monies you promised Ministry of Road, have you given them? When you brought VAT of 2.5% in the budget statement, you told us on this floor that substantial portions of that amount will go to the Ministry of Road. You haven't honored that. You have collateralized all our money because of your background in investment banking. Very soon, Mr. Speaker, we'll be questioning how much money Data Bank and Black Stars have made from those bonds and profited from those bonds. We should, as a house, be interested in it. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, Ministry of Finance, it should not be distributing the resources as if I like this minister, I don't like this minister, I like this minister. Honor mediation. Your rural telephony you spend money on, for 2 years you haven't been paid. We will say it for you. Have you been paid? Because he has defaulted with external debt. So Sinosho and your Chinese creditors are not happy. We are saying that project cost is going up. Kumasi Airport is uncompleted. Takoradi Interchange, uncompleted. All those projects that are at standstill because your external debt is not being serviced. What happens to them? You are going to further worsen costs for the Ghanaian taxpayer. With this, Mr. Speaker, let the Minister for Finance be advised. Then, Mr. Speaker, paragraph 5113, I'll conclude. The dam spillage in the Volta region, Akusumbo Dam disaster, 22 million. Yesterday, you listened to news about Australia and what Australia is doing following a disaster. Do say, but Mr. Speaker, as I assume my seat, this parliament must sit up, and we must sit up to demand a ceiling for borrowing for all presidents and for all governments. I maintain that no president or government should be allowed to borrow beyond 70% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, the German parliament, only last week, the Bundestag stopped their Minister for Finance from proceeding on his budget because he had exceeded what they call the debt brake. In this parliament, we approve every loan which comes. What has happened to the Palogo project? $938 million that was approved for Palogo Dam. No show. Mr. Speaker, with these words, he should go and negotiate well. He should be more transparent with his data, but he should not be distributing the public resources at will. I like this minister, I don't like this ministry. I like that minister, I don't like that minister. Your minister must stop that. Thank you, Mr.
Honorable Minority Whip, please.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues have made very profound statements about this report. And Mr. Speaker, when you read this report, you will notice that the finance ministry that is able to tell some ministries they can't get enough money to do the things they need to do for all of us.
is allocating monies for things you and I don't believe we should be doing. Mr. Speaker, indeed, this document basically acknowledges the fact that Ghana is in a very bad place. One of my colleagues have already talked about paragraph 5.1.9. You see, the interesting thing about this government is that they blame everything that they have spoiled on somebody else. When our children start failing WASI, they decided to abandon WAEC and form their own GASI. So Ghana does their own examination because they don't like WAEC. Today, because Fitch and Co are saying we are bankrupt, they are saying that we are coming to set up our own, in 2024, the ministry in collaboration with credit rating agencies would conduct a sovereign rating assessment to assess credit worthiness of our country. What is the meaning of this? So today you don't even know that we are bankrupt. So you don't want Fitch and Co to rate us. You create our own Fitch as well. Mr. Speaker, the problem is not the rating agents. The problem is the government. I'm happy my colleague, the Minister of Communication is... Yes, I'm happy. Listen to what you said. Listen to what you said. On June 28, 2022, you were reported by City News, and this is what you said. We can't continue to borrow or beg. E-levy is our only hope. E-levy is our only hope. So you foisted E-levy on us. Today, we are still borrowing. Yes, you said that. You can go and see City News. Go and see City News. You did. In fact, I know that even in Adaplu, you are supposed to do rural telephony. You are not supposed to do it because you don't have money. You understand? 2025. When we approved something for you in 2019.
Honorable member, please don't just focus on the direct.
She said it is on record. That one she cannot deny it. She cannot deny it. She said it. City News on 28 June said that. Who said where you went there? Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, don't just invite him into the conversation. Please, let's focus.
Mr. Speaker, I am very confident that City News is credible and what they said about her is true. Otherwise, you should go and see City News. Mr. Speaker, in this report, we are told that part of the money Ministry of Finance wants is to also go and build a new headquarters. Mr. Speaker, you were in this house last week. Ministry of Finance. When we actually have to borrow money to pay school feeding, LEAP, 12 million, we have to borrow money to pay school feeding and LEAP. Yes. And this government decided to spend $220 million on building a new Bank of Ghana headquarters. Mr. Speaker, that is the fastest growing. Look, when you say that the money to build a Bank of Ghana headquarters, they tell you that Bank of Ghana is Bank of Ghana a private entity. The money they get is public funding. The Bank of Ghana money, is it a private money? Mr. Speaker, Bank of Ghana is Hold on. Yes. Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this house is a house of records. And BOG is an independent institution. And so, Mr. Speaker, whatever they do, their capex comes from, it does not come from Government of Ghana revenue. So just to put this on record that BOG is an independent institution, our leader, the minority leader, knows that very well, and he should have at least corrected his fellow leader, that it is not money coming from Government of Ghana coffers, and that BOG also does things that help them raise money. And it is true that they are able to build, to allocate some to the building of or usage of capex, Mr. Speaker, just to put it on record.
Well. Honorable leader, having invited you. Honorable leader, you will get your opportunity. Honorable minority chief whip, just conclude for us so that you can get your opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, let the Deputy Minister of Finance understand. Bank of Ghana belongs to the Government of Ghana. The money is public.
The money is public funds. If your government allows Bank of Ghana to spend $220 million to build a new headquarters, in fact, Mr. Speaker, the fastest ongoing construction project in this country, and actually decide to abandon hospital project, that is recklessness. And there's nobody in this country who believes that what you said that Bank of Ghana is independent is right. Mr. Speaker, to make it worse, Mr. Speaker, this government abandoned road projects in Adaklu and are building Bank of Ghana headquarters. And you want to tell me that Bank of Ghana is a private entity from Sao Tome or Azerbaijan? Mr. Speaker, to make it worse, this government, of which Honorable Abena is part, have decided to spend more money to build.
Honorable Member, we don't have any Honorable Abena.
Honorable Abena Osei, my very good friend, the government of which he is. And Mr. Speaker, I've got a very beautiful picture of the two of us. I'll show you later. Have decided that they will abandon all projects in this country and they are building a new headquarters as well. Honorable Abena Asare, between the roads in Abaklu and your headquarters, which one is a priority? Which one is a priority, Mr. Speaker? This government has lost touch with the people of this country.
Honorable, just conclude for me.
Mr. Speaker, it is difficult to conclude when your schools, roads have been abandoned and they are misusing the money. It's difficult to conclude, Mr. Speaker.
So continue.
Mr. Speaker, I'll conclude on a very bitter note that what this government is doing is very reckless. And if I have my way, Mr. Speaker, apart from the salaries that they are supposed to pay and a little of the goods and services, that ministry deserves no extra penny for anything. Mr. Speaker, listen very carefully, Mr. Speaker. Paragraph 5.1.13, under achievements, this government is saying, let me read to you, Mr. Speaker, Ghana as chair of the CVF 20, and I want to thank Dr. Mafo, led a long-term reform to champion the cause of climate vulnerable nations. And this is the thing, Ghana will be able to access a minimum of $500,000 as an achievement when you have just recently created a company which we are told have been given $100 million a year, and you are saying that it's an achievement to benefit for 500,000. You have cheapened governance to the lowest level. Your government is not even fit to manage a district assembly. Your government is not fit to manage a district assembly. It's a substandard government. Mr. Speaker, with this heavy heart, I urge colleagues to vote against this by this one.
I'll take the last person, then you put the question. Leader.
No, point of correction.
Honorable, he has not caught my eye. Please, leader, speak to us.
Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, if he has any information, he can give it to.
Mr. Speaker, this motion before us is an important motion. Mr. Speaker, it's important because the Ministry of Finance is a central government agency. It is not just an MDA. It is a central government agency that has the mandate to manage the economy of the Republic of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, today we are all aware that our economy is in tatters. We are all aware that as we speak,
every country in the world that we owe, we have failed to pay their money to them. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that every foreign bank that we have taken loans from, Ghana has failed to repay both interest and principal. Mr. Speaker, we are also aware that every single individual and investor in the world, including Ghana, that has purchased our Euro bond, Mr. Speaker, as we speak, we have failed to service our debt, both interest and debt repayment. Mr. Speaker, that is why when Ministry of Finance present their budget, we need to scrutinize it. Mr. Speaker, we pay them to manage the economy of the Republic of Ghana. And so, Mr. Speaker, this motion cannot be treated like any other motion. This motion is critical and important, and every member of this House must have an opportunity to debate it. Because, Mr. Speaker, this Ministry of Finance have failed the people of Ghana. That is a fact. Mr. Speaker, let us understand. Let us understand. And Mr. Speaker, let me refer you to paragraph 5.19, sovereign rating, page 6. Mr. Speaker, the language there speaks volumes. Mr. Speaker, I read, in 2024, the Ministry, in collaboration with credit rating, will conduct sovereign rating assessment to assess the credit worthiness of our country. So, Speaker, this simply means that as we speak, we are not rated at all. So they are waiting to assess the credit worthiness of our country in the year 2024. Mr. Speaker, currently we are rated junk. In fact, when it comes to international ratings, as long as our external debt is concerned, Mr. Speaker, we are rated default. And this was supervised by this ministry, by the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Speaker, default means Mr. Speaker, we can't simply pay our debt. That's what it is. That is what it is. Mr. Speaker, aside that, and this statement goes on to say, in addition, the ministry will intensify credit risk assessment of SOEs and other public entities to contain fiscal risk. Mr. Speaker, sadly, we are yet to conduct credit risk assessment for our state-owned enterprises. Mr. Speaker, most of our state-owned enterprises, most of them, they are not credit worthy. That is what it is. That is what it is. And Mr. Speaker, we cannot treat this motion before us as if it is a normal and ordinary motion. The situation that the country is going through was supervised by the ministry responsible for finance. And so, Mr. Speaker, we should say it as it is. Mr. Speaker, in spite of all what the country is going through, I was amazed to hear from an investigative journalist that during the time that the country was going through a major financial crisis, the same Ministry of Finance had the audacity to sign a contract in US dollars worth $10 billion a year for 5 years. So, Speaker, we are coming with a motion before you. This matter must be investigated by this House. So, Speaker, we need to pay attention. What is happening at the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Speaker, is a serious matter. The company called SML, that has made the headlines in our country, Mr. Speaker, to the extent that since the year 2018, this company supposedly, according to the investigative journalist, is receiving 24 million every month for no work done. Mr. Speaker, we will investigate that. We will investigate that. And aside from, Mr. Speaker, for them to award additional contracts worth $100 million annually, Mr. Speaker, it calls for major concern. It calls for major concern. Mr. Speaker, aside that, you recall that last year during the budget, 2 years ago, during the budget debate, a levy was introduced. E-levy. We were told that it's going to be the panacea. So, Speaker, as part of the consideration of the budget, we were told that they were going to establish a monitoring mechanism called E-levy monitoring system. So, Speaker, I recall vividly that this House opposed it, and said to the minister responsible for finance that they should not go that route. So, Speaker, it will surprise you that the same Ministry of Finance went ahead and signed the contract. The Speaker, I now have a copy of that contract. So, Speaker, at the right time, when we get to appropriations, we'll bring these matters up. And I assure you, we'll bring these matters up. And we will call for a public investigation into this matter. So, Speaker, they signed the contract, even though this House ordered them not to go ahead, and to the extent that we took the money that was supposed to go to that sector. So, Speaker, they went ahead and still signed the contract for the e-levy monitoring system. So, Speaker, we have a copy of the contract. We requested for it, Mr. Speaker, and we have it officially. We'll bring it before you and we'll demand probe into this matter. The hands that will bear out that this House rejected it. Mr. Speaker, aside that, as we speak, Mr. Speaker, we know that this country is going through an excruciating hardship. To the extent that, Mr. Speaker, contractors who have gone to the bank to borrow money to conduct major capital expenditure for our country are not being paid. Mr. Speaker, even though that is happening, the Ministry of Finance and its agencies are engaging in their creature comfort by building head offices for themselves. Mr. Speaker, what at all is happening? What at all is happening to our dear country? Mr. Speaker, starting from Bank of Ghana. And it surprises me to hear that my colleague, the Honorable Abner, says Ministry of Finance is an autonomy agency. So autonomy means we shouldn't talk about them. They have functional autonomy in the discharge of the monetary policy. It does not mean they have financial autonomy. No. Bank of Ghana money is public fund. Go and read the Public Financial Management Act. So, Speaker, Bank of Ghana money is regarded as a public fund. This House must be the one that will appropriate it. So, Speaker, all these years, what the central bank is doing by spending outside appropriation, Mr. Speaker, since 2017 is illegal. And at the right time, Mr. Speaker, we will tackle them frontally. Advise them rather to come to us and do what is right. Because all what they are doing is that they are breaching the Public Financial Management Act. That is a fact. Mr. Speaker, fast forward on this matter, Mr. Speaker. We are aware. If you are to look at the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, gas is regarded as petroleum fund. But again, this same Ministry of Finance, they are failing to account for the gas that we lit. So, Speaker, gas is a petroleum fund. And if you are to sell gas, the proceeds must go into the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. So, Speaker, as we speak, we are hearing that the Electricity Company of Ghana is failing to pay what is due VRA, is failing to pay what is due Ghana Gas, is failing to pay what is due IPP. The Ministry of Finance, that is supposed to be the central management agency, Mr. Speaker, they are missing in all of this. Mr. Speaker, there's a lot more we need to ask this ministry to do before we approve this budget. This budget in excess of over $1 billion Ghana cedis for Ministry of Finance, Mr. Speaker, to perform their functions. Mr. Speaker, we should be aware that this ministry, under its current leadership, needs to be asked to do what is right. Mr. Speaker, a lot is wrong at that ministry. A lot is wrong. And we will come frontally on the issues of the SML contract. We'll come frontally on the issues of the e-levy contract. And we'll ask them, Mr. Speaker, in the coming days to account to the people of Ghana how they took taxpayers' money, 24 million every single month since 2018 for no work done. 24 million Ghana cedis since 2018 every month for no work done. And the reasons why they had the audacity in the middle of crisis to award a contract to SML for an amount worth $100 billion, $100 million US every month.
for the performance of a function that everyone knows that is a dab. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Thank you, honorable members. No, at the conclusion of the debate, all those in favor of the motion listed 12 in today's order paper say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, I'll take the question again. Honorable members, all those in favor of the motion listed 12 in today's order paper say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, I'll hold on with the decision and suspend the House for 1 hour. The House is suspended for 1 hour.
Honorable members, welcome from the suspension, and the understanding is that we're going to take the estimates of the various sectors. We're not touching the revenue bills today. We'll do that tomorrow. We have, is it 3 also sectors left? The question to be put, I'm told a question was put and the decision was not taken. Then we move to parliamentary and then a third one, judiciary. Because our guests are already waiting on us for the carols night. Yes, Majority Chief Whip, you were on which item?
Speaker, we moved the motion on finance. And I recall the question was put and the Speaker deferred ruling and suspended sitting. So, Speaker, we got to a point where you had to rule on the voice vote.
What item?
That was item 12. Yes. So, Speaker, if it pleases you, you may put the question on item 12.
we concluded the debate and the question was put, but the decision was not made. So I put the question again. Those in favor of item 12 at page 10 of the order paper, say aye. Those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is carried. This House approved the sum of 2,249,577,038 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Finance for the year ending 31st December 2024. Honorable members, we may now take item 14, the Judiciary. Yes?
Speaker, with respect, may I seek your leave for it to be done by the Deputy Leader instead?
Item 14?
Yes.
Yes. Majority Leader, Deputy Majority Leader to move it for and on behalf of the Majority Leader.
14, yours. Judiciary.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move this House to approve the sum of 935,937,204 cedis for the services of the Judiciary and the Judicial Service for the year ending 31st December 2024. I so move, sir.
Any seconder?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion. And before I do that, Mr. Speaker, I seek your leave to do some for the table office to capture the correct figure. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Article 179 of the Constitution, an amount of 1,133,628 1,133,628,989.77 Ghana cedis was proposed to the presidency.
Write it for him.
Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Article 175 of the Constitution, the Judiciary and the Judicial Service, the President proposed 944,718,578 Ghana cedis, representing 82.6% of the total budget. Mr. Speaker, the Judiciary and the Judicial Service also proposed to the committee that Minister of Finance seek approval from Parliament to do an upward adjustment of their internally generated funds from 30% to 50%. Mr. Speaker, this will help them to undertake justice delivery system for the year 2024. Having thoroughly scrutinized the budget estimates for the Judiciary and the Judicial Service, the committee is of the view that the policies and programs outlined for the year would go a long way to support the achievement of the policy achievements of the Judicial Service. The committee accordingly recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve of 940,718,578 Ghana cedis for the services of the Judiciary and the Judicial Service for the financial year ending 31st December 2024. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
That the Vice Chair of the committee, please, the figures you mentioned, they seem to differ from what I have here. May you repeat them again?
The total figure is 944,718,578 Ghana cedis. This includes the internally generated funds that were not captured by the letter from the presidency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, we are being called upon to amend the motion. The motion number 14 at page 10 of the order paper. Instead of the 935, we are being called upon to amend it to read 944,780,578 Ghana cedis. Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, they will have to give us an explanation as to why they are increasing the appropriation. Mr. Speaker, this is because what is in the budget is different from the numbers that he is giving to us. The reason is changing or is being revised upwards. There should be a reason. So the mover of the motion must explain to us why that change. Mr. Speaker, is important.
The reason he gave is that the IGF has been moved from the 30% to 50%. The initial figure is based on retention of 30% of the IGF being generated by the judiciary. But at the committee level, they were able to get the ministry to agree for the IGF to be up to 50%. That was what I heard him say. And so if you add that to the figure, then it will move from the 935 to the 944. That was it. So we will have to be looking at amending the act on the IGF. But you can go on.
The Speaker, originally it was 30% retention and 70% for the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance has subsequently committed that 70% to another expenditure. And so if you are to increase it from 30 to 50, some expenditure somewhere must also reduce. So you can't just increase it without finding the corresponding expenditure somewhere to cut. So that is not enough explanation, Mr. Speaker, and they have to come clean.
Yes, please. Can you give us how the minister has proposed to handle this? Yes, Deputy Minister of Finance. Yes, Deputy Minister for Finance. We need an explanation as to where they are going to get the money to top up to the figure of 935 to the 944. And he said that you already committed the 70% of the IGF to another expenditure item. And so if you up it from the 30% to 50%, you're definitely going to lose some money out. How do you intend to handle that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the transmittal letter of the transmittal letter of Mr. President did not include the IGF portion. And so the difference is the IGF portion that is added to it together 944,718,578 Ghana cedis.
We didn't listen to from the committee.
I explained.
Unless, yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm the ranking member of the committee. And the fact is that the figure as quoted in the order paper, that is the 935 million, and that is from the presidency, did not include the IGF amount. That figure of 935 did not include the IGF amount. The IGF amount, Mr. Speaker, for 2024 is 51,111,957 cedis. So if you add the 51 million to the 935, that is where you have the 1.something million. That is the fact. It's not that they have varied the IGF from 30% to 50%. We are making a recommendation to the House to do that. We are yet making a recommendation. So it is not that they have increased the IGF from 30 to 50 and that has brought the increment. It's that the original figure did not factor in the IGF. Thank you.
Well, your explanation is the same the Deputy Minister gave. I don't know whether it's the Vice Chair who presented the report, who initially stated what you just mentioned. We didn't get it that it was just a recommendation. He gave the impression that you were getting that additional money from the increment from 30% to 50%. But now I get your point. Minority Leader, what do you say?
Mr. Speaker, since it's distinguishing between a recommendation to the House and a genuine error, Mr. Speaker, I will go with the error. That what is on the motion excludes the allocated IGF. Then it makes a lot of sense. But if he's trying to make an application to the House to up the retention of IGF, it means something has to give. And we may have to cut it somewhere else. That is another leg. But until then, probably we can now accept this one and then move on to before we can consider the second leg. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, the motion is moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion on the floor and to pray to this August House to adopt the said motion subject to the amendment that we have made. In other words, we now add the amount of the IGF to the original amount stated in the order paper so that we'll have a holistic figure. Mr. Speaker, in supporting the motion, I want to state that it should be appreciated that the judiciary is an arm of government. The judiciary and the judicial service is an arm of government, and not that it is an MDA, like Ministry, Department, and Agency. So we should give a lot of attention to the arm of government, just like we pay to the executive and then also to the legislature. It is against this background that the Constitution has made a special provision for the consideration of the estimates from the judiciary. That when the judiciary prepare their estimate and submit to the office of the president, he can only make a recommendation to this House, but he cannot vary it. But if you look at the estimate that we have before us, the figure that we have before us, the office of the president has various estimates of the capex from the judiciary, and that has been a very huge difference of about 41% that the president has deducted from the budget of the judiciary. And Mr. Speaker, when that happens, from our interaction with the Judicial Secretary and then the staff, it is going to adversely affect their operations. In fact, this amount of money is supposed to purchase some cars for the lower level staff of the bench, that is magistrates and then circuit court judges. Mr. Speaker will appreciate the fact that if a circuit court judge in a particular location or a magistrate has no means of transport and has to stand by the roadside looking for a lift, it can undermine the work that he's going to do. There's a story that says that one magistrate got a lift from somebody to court, and when he got to court, the first case they called, the one who gave him the lift was the accused person in the case. So he was so embarrassed. So I think that the judiciary is a sensitive organization. We should try to meet the budget that they want, so that at least the independence of the judiciary, the integrity of the judiciary can be maintained. But if we want to treat the judiciary like any other organization or any other MDA, I think that it won't occur well for us. And besides that, they have built some houses, 74 houses, of only 63 are occupied, just because they can attract magistrates, professional magistrates or lawyers to join the bench to do the work, because the conditions of service are not good. So this is one of the perks, that if I go to the rural area, they will give me a vehicle or a car extra. They will attract lawyers to join the bench. Otherwise, they will still continue to use career magistrates, and you and me can appreciate the value of career magistrates, that is non-lawyers who are serving as magistrates. So that is a very big gap in the judiciary that I think that this August House should be able to prevail upon the government. The judiciary bring their budget, at least as much as possible, they should try to meet it because of the sensitive nature of their work. Besides that, there are some courthouses that the judiciary is building. One of them is in the Upper West Region, a high court complex. It has been there all along. It's about almost halfway completed, gone. But we still need money to complete it. Now that they have varied the budget as far as the capital investment is concerned, that means it's going to be difficult for them to undertake that project. So because of the nature of the work, and then their motto is access to justice and affordable justice. You cannot talk about access and affordability if the courts are not there. You cannot talk about access and affordability if the institution does not attract people to join the bench or the judiciary. So in supporting this motion, I want us to support the application that we are making, that if we cannot get Ministry of Finance to give them a good budget, then their IGF, which is currently 30%, should be increased to 50%. And when they get that IGF 50%, Mr. Speaker, it will go a long way to help them to meet some of the services for goods and capital expenditure. On that note, Mr. Speaker, I urge all honourable colleagues to support the motion on the floor and approve of the budget for the judiciary and the judicial service. Thank you.
Honourable members, I proceed to put the question. Those in favour, say aye. Those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. This House has accordingly approved the sum 944,780,578 Ghana cedis for the services of the judiciary and the judicial service for the year ending 31st December 2024. Honourable members, the Finance Committee should take note of this figure as against what is in the budget and make sure you are able to reconcile the totals. Please. Honourable members, we now take item 15. Motion. Majority Leader, Deputy Majority Leader to move it forward on behalf of Majority Leader. Yes?
Speaker, with respect, I'm reliably informed that leader is concluding on that report. Hence, we want to rather move on to page 22. Page 22 and take item 37. But we'll begin with 36, which is a procedural motion.
Honorable members, may I rather let us take the resolution on item 9 before we go to this one. Item 9 deals with our standing orders. It's been on for a long time. It's now left with just the resolution. So I will call on one of my deputies, I think available, just to move for the resolution on item 9, and then we can move on. Honorable members, item 9, resolution. Chairman, I chair the committee with the 2 deputy speakers. So,
Honorable Speaker, I rise to respectfully move that this Honorable House adopt the resolution, by resolution the review standing orders of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana to replace the subsistent standing orders of Parliament of Ghana as revised on 1st November 2000. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
honorable members, any seconder? Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Motion moved and seconded for the adoption of resolution number 9 at page 9 of the order paper. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, this House has accordingly resolved to adopt the new standing orders that you adopted in an earlier motion. With the comments that were made of that motion, they've been taken care of, and therefore this resolution captures all. Copies were made available to all of you through your emails. So if you go through your emails, you see the soft copy there. Please kindly start reading the new standing orders. We will be organizing workshops before the next meeting so that you have at least some preliminary idea. Those of you that were not members of the Standing Orders Committee and who might not have been available during the adoption of the earlier motion, please take time to read them. We can now move on to item 36 at page 21 of the order paper. Motion, Chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that the procedural motion listed as item 36 on today's order paper be moved now. I so move.
Honorable members, it's a procedural motion. Any seconder? Sorry. Yes.
The microphone is on.
Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Motion moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. As I said, it's a procedural motion, so I'll put the question. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. We now move to the substantive motion, which is item 37 at page 22 of the order paper. Chairman of the committee, you may.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that the motion listed as I rise to move that this Honourable House adopts the report of the Finance Committee on the loan agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana and KFW for an amount of 11,500,000 euros to finance the Financial Cooperation Governance Program Audit Service construction of 12 regional and district offices. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, in moving this, I would like to present your committee's report. I request the Hansa Department to capture the entire content of the report whilst I take the highlights. Mr. Speaker, the justification for this facility is under paragraph 4, the terms of the loan listed under paragraph 5 are as follows. The facility amount, of course, is 11.5 million euros. The grace period of 7 years, repayment period 31 years, tenure 38 years, interest 0.75 per annum, commitment fee of 0.25%. The grant element, Mr. Speaker, is 54.21%. Mr. Speaker, the committee, having reviewed this referral, recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve the loan agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana and KFW as indicated on the other paper in accordance with the Constitution and with law. Respectfully submitted, I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, any second? Yes, ranking member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion, and in so doing, I would like to make a few comments. Mr. Speaker, the audit service is your employee who is supposed to ensure that you are seized with accountability in terms of the budgets that you approve and how those monies are spent. But Mr. Speaker, it is one of the few institutions of state that over the period have served our country very well, particularly in an era of corruption and misappropriation of public funds. It is only important that we equip the audit service to be able to deliver this important service to our nation. I take great pleasure in the fact that these funds, unlike other institutions, are going to be expended to develop the capacity of the audit service in the regions and districts. For most institutions, when we have had this opportunity, the tendency is to concentrate at the head office, but the audit service is interested in deploying these resources to build offices and capacity in our districts and our regions to be able to deliver enhanced services to Parliament of Ghana and to the people of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, it is just a matter of course that I call on my colleagues to support this motion so we can make resources available to the audit service of Ghana. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Motion moved and seconded for the consideration of the House. Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Just to add that the fight against corruption ought to be extended to the regions and the districts. Mr. Speaker, from the report under paragraph 7, talks about the project description. You realize that the 6 new offices are being set up in the newly created regions. And you find that 6 new regional offices are being constructed at Goso, Dambai, Sefiyosu, Naleregu, Techiman, and Damango. Additionally, 6 other district offices will be constructed at Enchi, Axim, Nkwanta, Sugakope, Odumasi Krobo. And Mr. Speaker, the implementation plan especially deals with human resource development, quite apart from the construction bit and consulting services. The Speaker, it's very important that we decentralize the auditing processes, which always comes before you, to ensure that there's greater transparency and reduce irregularities in the districts and the regions. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I put the question. Honourable members, those in favour of motion number 37 at page 22 of the order paper, say aye. Those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is carried. We will now move on, I believe, if you are ready to take the resolution, which is item 38. Item 38. Minister for Finance. Oh, Deputy Minister, you may do so.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the resolution captured as item 38 on pages 22 and 23 of today's order paper be adopted now. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Motion moved. Any seconder?
I second the motion, Mr. Speaker.
Motion moved and seconded for the consideration of the House. There being no consideration, I put the question. Is the adoption of a consequential resolution of what we just those in favor of the adoption of the resolution number 38 at page 22 of the order paper, say aye. Those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The resolution is accordingly adopted. Any further item to be taken?
Mr. Speaker, I think we still are waiting the report of the Parliament and Parliamentary Service. It's not ready now. So, Mr. Speaker, given the program for this evening, I guess we can take an adjournment and meet early morning tomorrow at 10 to finish with those outstanding ones before the appropriation bill comes late. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I agree. Mr. Speaker, tomorrow the outstanding motions before us, I don't think will be more than 5. Apart from the general government services, which is part of the other government obligation and appropriations bill, together with Parliament's budget, I believe we'll finish with all the motions. And so if we are to come early, I'm sure we'll be able to close before the evening. And it will mean that the Committee of Finance and the Ministry of Finance will have to be up and doing so that they can get. The Ministry of Finance must sit with the Finance Committee on the other government obligations and the appropriations bill. I know you've not done the appropriations yet, so we have to get all of that done on time before we can conclude tomorrow. So, Speaker, we are in your hands since it's past 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Honourable members, I will proceed to adjourn proceedings. Accordingly, honourable members, this House stands adjourned till tomorrow at 10 in the forenoon. I want to also urge that we start on time. Honorable members, 10 in the forenoon. 10 in the forenoon. Honorable members, we are adjourning at this time because we scheduled tonight as the joyous carols night. And so from here, you are all expected to be present. Yes, the cloth, I'm not too sure you have got it all done, but at least we need your presence. We need to start the season properly. And yeah, he's my brother. I know he'll be there. He has a sonorous voice, so I want to hear his voice. With this, the House is adjourned.